Appreciate.
Thank you,
Nailed
my
it.
brother. Knew exactly where I was going with that. What's going on, everybody? We're live. NFL HQ. I can't believe it. We've moved from doing things in the past into doing things in the live present. How you always doing?
Hey,
Um,
great.
I'm good.
I got some games.
Let me tell
I
you.
got some games to talk about.
Let me tell you. Well, So there's a flow to this. So another thing that we do is we bring in the chat. So when people join, they're able to live chat with us. So I'll do that. And while I do that, man, I mean, was that the craziest NFL opening week that you've maybe ever been a part of?
Not the craziest, but the worst. You know, like
You looked at it
for
from
you.
a money perspective.
Three of us are real happy right now from our team's perspective. Brandon, anyway, go on. Didn't mean to cut you off.
it was
How do you feel about it?
It was a sloppy. Like there was so many fumbles. These guys don't play preseason. It wasn't the best game. Definitely was the Charger and Miami game, but for the most part, it was a lot of unders, a lot of little scoring. Teams kind of just basically almost felt like they were their preseason kind of a thing, and it's going to get better as you go. But always the first couple of weeks is sloppy football, and it just was rough to watch. Blowouts a lot and stuff of that nature. So.
That was a surprising answer. I didn't think you were going to go for the negative side of it, but Dave, you must have been in rolling around like a pig in shit.
Well, my team won opening week finally.
Scary.
So,
Scary.
it was, but not only that, a lot of teams won that don't necessarily normally come out on top, and they looked really good. Some of the teams that normally look really good had a little trouble. And I think it's what Brandon mentioned. We're coming off of preseason. A lot of the starters didn't play in preseason. It was pretty evident, especially that first game of the week. But I know we'll get into game by game. But it was a fun weekend, though. I hope it continues. It will continue, but.
Well, let's hope. Yeah, post-apocalyptically, it may not. The rapture could happen at any moment. Dan Rod, all the way from Canada. How was your weekend, man?
Well, obviously, as a Cowboys fan, weekend went great. Biggest blowout of the week, but is that a false win? I think a lot of the social media I've seen are the Cowboys for real. Is the defense that good? Dak Prescott didn't look good. We'll get into that and everything. But just in terms of your question, was this the craziest week one we've ever seen? I really truly believe that this is just week one in the NFL. I think if you play back tapes to any football show, any pundit, any professional, non-professional, whatever you want to call yourself, they'll say week one every year is crazy. And when we're doing this show 365 days from now, whatever it is, week one of the 2024 season, we're going to say, was that the craziest week one we've ever seen? That's what I think is going to happen.
Fair. That every week is like Christmas and everyone's 0-0 and everybody, even the Jags can win, crazy weeks like that.
Right.
And just to pick a team. But let me tell you, to me, it was just because of the injuries. And of course, there's some major injuries that we're going to recap. But I feel like there's 15 Achilles that went down. People are just, dropping like flies. The inactive lists were so long. And we'll get into it game by game, but I mean, it was hard to watch because it was sloppy, to Brandon's point, but there were some aired out moments, and maybe it was just good to, I don't know, maybe it was just good to see it again, but it's with that boyish wonder. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well, what I kind of noticed too a little bit is that you get a lot of soft tissue injuries. You get a lot of guys pulling hammies kind of early, and everybody's just kind of feeling each other out, still playing. But I always say this week one is because you're so thirsty for football. Like, just give me something that's real. That you get a lot of overreacting, and most likely it's all going to even itself out after the first month. If you're just 2-2, just don't lose it in the first month and get my guys healthy and start taking from there. The season's long as hell now.
Do we credit Bill Belichick for this 2-2 get out of the first month alive? Because he famously with the Patriots said, the first 4 weeks of the regular season, he kind of treats almost like the preseason, get a real sense of who his team is. And you look at those Patriots teams throughout their dominance, those first 4 weeks necessarily didn't always go their way. But then after that, how many perfect Octobers, perfect Novembers did Bill Belichick, Tom Brady, and those Patriots have? So is this, a more of a recent thing because of someone like Bill Belichick? Do we credit him for this first 4 weeks of the season as more of a preseason at this point?
I would, I think, well, I was just going to say, yes, because you notice that there's always a team. Obviously, you just see a team that always starts out hot that just flails, right? There's always that 2-0, 3-0 team. People start saying, hey, they think they got to figure together. And then usually by October, they're like, 3-5 or something of that nature. And so it's look, half the teams have to lose, half the teams have to win. There's always some good teams that end up playing against each other, and then one of them looks bad, and then we overreact how bad they're going to be. And then some 2 loser teams play, and then we go, hey, maybe this one loser team that won, they got something cooking over there. And all of a sudden, that's why I say the first month you can actually start seeing a little bit of who they're playing and how you catch them and stuff like that. So it's still kind of, I still don't know anything from week 1. I don't know if you guys.
Right. I haven't learned anything. I learned that Calvin really can play motherfucking football.
Yeah.
Calvin, I learned that he's fine.
But having to do with what you guys just said too, the first couple months, you're right. We are excited because football is back, and we should be. We're football fans. We're big. I want to point out to Mark Ashby, Dave. Hello, my friend. He says, but he comes from our show. He's stopping in to watch. Thank you. But really, it is that late season run that either a Tom Brady, that when the teammates start coming together and they start feeling it, we're going to do something. We're going to go to the playoffs. We're going to win a Super Bowl. And you can really see that. And you're not really going to see which teams are going to do it. I can tell you what teams are the best right now, but they may not be that in week 8. It's from then on that you're really going to see who performs well together, and injuries are going to have a lot to do with it too. So
injuries were nasty.
Yes.
Nasty. Was everyone privy to the Sunday ticket? Was everybody able to watch every single game?
No, I don't subscribe to the Sunday ticket. I always think about it every year, but obviously as a Cowboys fan, a lot of primetime games, I usually get to watch the Cowboys. That's going to be the prevailing theme. Yeah. But I don't know. I'm just a degenerate that doesn't pay to watch all the Sunday games. I find it hard. I love Red Zone and things like that, but I'll just watch whatever game they put on here locally in Canada. But
it's always the Cowboys games. So
I probably should watch all the football games, but at the same time, I find it sometimes hard to watch every single game all the time. But
and you can.
I love it so much.
Yeah, you can also do the recap, which is on YouTube, about an hour after the game, and you can watch the entire game in 15 minutes with no commercials and no, every play after play after play. It's fantastic. So I mean, totally. I did that with the Dolphins game because it was probably the best game I have ever seen in my life. George Gutierrez, what up, AC and fellas? What's up, my buddy George here in Vegas? He is fantasy football adversary. I vanquished him yesterday as the highest point total in the league with Calvin Ridley, with Etienne, and Deshaun Watson, and Aaron Jones, and that was great. So what up, George? No offense, bud.
Well, I know we will get into each game by game, but one thing I can say, you've mentioned Calvin Ridley a couple times. I believe that that Calvin Ridley tandem that he has with Trevor Lawrence is only second to Tua, and your Tyreek Hill. I mean, how many times did they throw something? And that speedster Tyreek Hill, I tell you what, you get him a ball anywhere. And he is in the end zone in a flash. That guy is something. So shout out to your team as well, buddy. Shout out to your team as well.
He said, "Just drag me publicly. Just drag me through the streets."
I won't always be the resident fact checker here, but Dave, if we're going for week 1 and best receiving yards total, so obviously quarterback to receiver connection, your man Calvin Ridley actually ranks 8th in receiving 101 yards. He is one of 8 receivers to total 101 yards. I think we got to give a lot of credit because we won't give him a lot of credit later on. Tutu Atwell and Puka Nacua, both wide receivers from the Los Angeles Rams, both totaled 119 yards, which was crazy.
Crazy stat. I'll bring it up on my phone. Crazy stat with all the wide receivers. There's a lot of wide receivers that didn't total even a quarter of the 215 yards that Tyreek and it was Jamar Chase was in there.
And just for my own curiosity, because again, I've quit fantasy football because I was too involved in it. Did the Dallas Cowboys defense have the highest point total of any player other than maybe Tyreek Hill in week 1?
Tua got 62 points in one of my leagues.
But they were the highest. I had the Cowboys defense. They saved me in one of my leagues. Thank God.
Yeah, the shutout alone gets you Cowboy. Yeah, Micah Parsons.
I had Christian Kirk on that team, and apparently he does love Cowboys. He does not like Christian Kirk.
What's going on?
I'm trying to figure out what to do with that. that position because he wasn't spreading the ball around. He was Zay Jones and
the perfect acquisition. But we'll talk about the Jaguars, which we do a lot on this show for some reason. I'm so tired of thinking about sunshine. He's in my ass. Railroads are fun, says Cameron Tripp. Have fun, boys. Here's a pint for the three, Sam, and you all. Thank you so much for joining us with that beer. Chug a lug. All right, so I think we've gotten through how we felt initially about this week. Let's talk about some games, and
let's do it.
I'll tell you what. I'd like to start. Traditionally, we'd start off with the Thursday night games, the way I like to do it. But we have a special guest tonight who's going to join us to recap the Cleveland and Cincinnati game. This is a man that's from Ohio, born and raised, Ohio State fan, the whole thing. As soon as you see him, you're going to be like, oh, he's from Ohio. So when you meet him, you can't unmeet him. He's a wonderful guy. His name is Andrew Carpenter. He lives here in Vegas with me, and he's part of my fantasy football team along with George. So everybody, Andrew Carpenter.
Hey everybody.
Hey,
my brother.
Oh, welcome.
I had to make sure to swap out my Ohio State for my Cleveland hat.
Yeah, of course. Let us know where you live. So tell us about Ohio. Where are you from in Ohio in respect to the two teams? Where are you from in Ohio in respect to the two teams, and why are you a fan?
So I grew up in Northeast Ohio near Akron, but then I actually moved and lived the second half of my stint in Cincinnati. So I truly can root for both teams. It's Cleveland first, then Cincy.
No. Is that because they won?
Yeah, I can never lose, really, if you think about it. I'm always a winner.
Gotcha.
Oh, yeah.
But
being from Cleveland, Ohio. Hello, Miss Rose. How you doing?
Cincinnati Super Bowl's a ton running through Ohio.
For real.
Absolutely.
We were talking on Sunday because we were texting back and forth all day watching that atrocious Ohio game. So is the weather always like that, Andrew?
We like to save it for national audiences. That's what we like to do. We bring it out special occasions. We'll dabble in it, end of season when it's a home game with Pittsburgh, and then only when we get national recognition, for sure.
Rolled it out. For real. So so that game was horrible. I'm going to bring up some tabs now, but I mean, think about that dragged out under-ass game. The final was 13
23-3.
20. No, it wasn't.
Oh,
we got some garbage time at the end?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay.
24-3. Let's give them all 4.
24-3? Oh, we stopped watching it. The red zone stopped giving us the updates.
Yeah,
For real. So, I mean, we were kind of watching it from a distance, but kind of together. I mean, what do you feel about Deshaun Watson? Is this your guy? Like, are you sold on him? Do you think he's too handsy? Do you think maybe he might be touching too many chicks? Like, how do you feel about him going forward?
I feel like it wasn't so much the rain wasn't so much the problem with the ball slickness. It was all his lotion. That's what was doing. No, it was. I'm not sold yet. I didn't like the move. Yeah. I felt, I watched Cleveland with my heart and not my head. I felt Baker Mayfield earned one more year. He got us our beloved playoff win. The money we gave Deshaun, not knowing what we're getting, I feel like could have been spread around. I really would have loved to have seen Kareem Hunt in that game. We could have paid him handsomely. But, winning cures all. If he continues to win, I'll root for him. But it was pretty ugly.
Well, I mean, if Dante Stallworth and Ray Lewis can play football, I mean, he just touched a couple. You know what I mean? Like,
I was going to say, he just had sexual favors. I can't be that mad at him. Nobody got beaten.
Aaron Hernandez was literally hiding people under his house. And and he was scoring. Belichick was like, great job, buddy.
Yeah. Hernandez has body counts in college and in the pros, yet he's got rings. So it's okay. We'll live with it for now.
We'll live with it. Live with it.
As long as throws touchdowns.
All right, so we're bringing up
live with it.
The score. So you're right, 24-3. Let's give them their entire flowers. All their flowers. Who was the stars of these games?
Yes, please.
The stars of this game was whom? I can't even remember.
Words are hard.
Basically, that defense.
Myles Garrett for sure.
Yeah. Myles Garrett, what?
Myles Garrett, our entire defensive secondary.
Yeah.
They get the captain's awards for sure.
Absolutely. God, look at that punt.
I'm a little bit frustrated with Kevin Stefanski. I want more Nick Chubb involved. I want Nick Chubb in the red zone. I want our tight ends in the red zone. But what do I know?
Yeah, well, I think you know plenty. I mean, you've been watching him forever. You had to root for Tim Couch at one point, so
I know.
You know what I mean? I get it.
He got some things done.
Boys, you got any questions for the Ohio man?
Tough game to figure out when it's raining like that, you never know, what it's going to look like just because they were dropping the ball. Nick Chubb was fumbling. It was like, it's hard to kind of figure out what you have in those kind of first weather games. Similar like San Francisco and Chicago last year was that downpour. It was like such ugly. It was like you did both teams. Funny enough, the Chicago ends up winning that game, and they don't win another game after, kind of a thing. And so it's always you just got to feel like what are they really going to look like? Because they didn't look good for the offense, but the defense looked great.
I've never seen Joe Burrow play like that. Yeah, Dan Rod, you had a question for Andrew?
Yeah. So Andrew, obviously, the Cleveland Browns get the win in Cleveland over the Cincinnati Bengals. Joe Burrow now 0-3 in Cleveland in his career. And the Browns have actually won, or Cincinnati has not won in Cleveland since 2017. So that's 8 straight years where the Browns, despite their records in all those seasons, have beat the Bengals at home. What is it about the Battle of Ohio when Cincinnati comes into Cleveland that just gets Cleveland riled up and seems like a victory year after year in this game?
It's similar to like the when two brothers face off, So if we can't win them all. Make sure we take care of the state first. So, ideally, we got to make sure we win Ohio. It'd be great if we can constantly beat Pittsburgh. I think we may have them now. So it's now I think it turns into a little bit of family rivalry there. So as long as we keep doing that, they always give us this glimmer of hope. It was a garbage game. We got to win. They're making me come back next week to watch again.
yeah, it's court ordered. You have to watch. Is your family mostly Brownies, or are they Cincinnati Bengals, or do you guys fight? Is he gone? Did he leave?
I don't know.
Is he gone?
Maybe he's fighting with a family member right now.
Oh yeah, he's like, shut the fuck up. All right, well, cool. So look at this right here. Here it is. As soon as you bring it up, here's the disgusting score, and then you got punt, fumble, punt, field goal, punt, touchdown. Are you kidding me? Like that is a disgusting game in the rain. It got worse. So not one of the ones that was part of the red zone too much because they were just like in the middle of the field sloshing around. Yeah,
and if you think about it, Joe Burrow, obviously, it's a lot of been made of the 82 yards passing. Not that it's going to factor in, but he is now the highest paid player in NFL history. He signed that giant contract a couple of days before this game, obviously interrupting the Thursday night game. But if you factor it in, right now he's being paid roughly $3.35 million per yard he's passed. Obviously that number will change, but right now he's making over $3 million for each single yard he passes for.
My God, that's the way to put it on him.
It must be nice to be a quarterback in the NFL.
And you know what that means? You can't afford a left tackle now, but you got Deshaun, and that's fantastic. Like Amari Cooper is your best weapon. And outside of that, you have a really good running back, but I'm not sure if that's as soon as you start paying your quarterback that kind of money and tie him up and start setting records and resetting markets, that's what we're looking at. Like you're not going to be able to afford the rest of the team. So there's Andrew again. So Andrew, there we go.
I like what the Cleveland's done. Jim Schwartz bringing him on defense, he's going to give them a really good identity on there. They're going to attack, and so you're going to start. He doesn't have to do much. They're not asking Deshaun Watson to kind of like light it up. Honest truth, if he could just get like 24, 25 points, I think that defense is going to start, really shutting it down. Kind of similar to how we had that Eagles defense where he's rotating those defensive linemen in that Super Bowl year that they got. And the hell of a back, Denzel Ward can be a shutdown corner when he gets right. So. They match up well against the Bengals. They're just more physical. And then they rush, keeps Burrow off the field a lot too. And so I think they're going to be one of those scary teams that could go from worst to first because they have everything you need, really. Even Amari Cooper, Peebles, Jones, they have some guys in there. So and then more too as well, right? From the Jets they got. So I like to think they can do something
for sure. All right, final thoughts for Cleveland, Cincinnati in that not too pretty game, but as long as Andrew had fun, that's all I care about.
There you go. You can't go undefeated if you lose the first one. So
That's it.
We're on track.
16 teams no longer have that dream. Andrew, just a quick question, not necessarily about the game, but obviously as a Browns fan, you get the win week one. What were your expectations for Cleveland heading into the season, and then after watching them play 1 week? Have they changed at all, and what are your current expectations for the Cleveland Browns?
So I think we have improved. Really excited about the defense. They've got some swagger, and again, I think starting off with the interstate rivalry game, I'm really excited to see kind of how the defense keeps that momentum going. The last year we had a lot of games lost in the fourth quarter because we just gave up silly plays. Offense stopped performing, and then defense just basically shut down. So the fact that we were able to keep that going on the defensive side, really excited. Now it's just going to be, how does the offensive perform when the weather's 60 and sunny? Can Deshaun make some throws and it not be weather related? That's the big thing.
And how can you hold Joe Burrow to 3 points in the future?
I think Joe Burrow's. I think his calf really affected him a bit. I'll take it.
His Garrett was acting
don't
up.
Count me wrong.
His Myles Garrett was acting up.
Yeah, for sure. So, again, we'll take it any way we can get it. At this point, I'm just used to always being 0-1 right now, so we'll take sitting atop right now.
Absolutely.
Schedule maker is very cruel to the Cleveland Browns. Not only do they have 3 divisional games in their first 4 weeks, they will not see the Cincinnati Bengals till 2024, Week 18 at Cincinnati. That's the last game of the regular season.
Yeah.
That's the next time these 2 division rivals will play.
They're a different team by then.
And Week 18.
Absolutely. Wow, that's the biggest.
Cincy's hard at home. Cincy is hard at home. So,
I mean, they got that schedule, right? They got that first place schedule, and it's not going to be a cakewalk. Let's take a quick look at the Browns, and then we'll move on to the next.
I like getting division games out of the way early, right?
Absolutely.
Because when they're lingering, especially on the road, you're just like, man, we still got to take on this, and then so you get a real jump on them.
They're good early when you're winning them. They're not so good early if you're losing.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But if you're going to lose them on the road, right? Like if you're like, you get them back at home later in the year. Like it's the worst is losing the home games because you're like, oh man, I lost and I still got to go on the road in cold weather sometimes down the line and stuff. Yeah.
Absolutely.
All right, so here we go. Schedule. We're looking at week 2, Pittsburgh, at Pittsburgh, which is a tough one at Heinz, and then 9/24 we go to Tennessee if you're the Browns, and then versus an intra division Baltimore game. That's going to be a tough one at home, and that might be a demoralizing. They're going to play right on the elf, right?
Right. Yeah.
Final question for you, Andrew. Can you explain the dichotomy between the dog pound and that aesthetic, and then also the Keebler elf that's on your feet?
The Keebler elf, I think, just came out of. I think that's how most of Browns fans feel at the end of a season. We feel small in stature and nothing really to write home about. The dog pound early in the year, that's everyone's rowdy. We're ready to go, but I have no idea how those two didn't make it on the editing room floor, but made it onto merchandise. So somebody more important. I just like the plain football helmet. That's all it needs.
Small
but the
dude.
dog would have been better. I don't know about the elf, man.
Say what's up to Johnny, man. He's watching in YouTube land.
Oh, my man,
Mr. Johnny
Bravo.
Vegas.
There he goes.
United States Air Force, the best they got. We miss you, bro. Yeah, man. Well, thank you, bud. We gotta move on to a couple other games, but I appreciate your special perspective as an Ohioan.
No, man. Anytime. Thanks for having me on, guys.
Absolutely, man.
Yeah.
Yep. And I'll see you this season. We're gonna play each other, and it's gonna be nasty.
Absolutely. I hope I perform better than this past week. Let them know I scored the least in your league this week. I think my guys were treating this week as end of preseason. So
yeah, no, yeah. You still need 4 games. So
yeah,
we'll see about
we're gonna watch the tape. We'll work it out in practice.
Awesome, brother.
It's okay to have a bad week. It's worse to have the second highest point total and lose to the highest point total in a week.
Yeah.
So
that's all. Yeah.
Yeah. Two.
If I'm gonna lose, let me just crash bottom.
Yeah. Let me
Versus
tell you,
get that close and lose by a point or 2.
1-3 is not good, but it's better if you're. Yeah. But we can start that way. Anyway, thank you very much, Andrew. And,
appreciate it, guys.
We'll catch you next time, and I'll see you this weekend, bro.
All right. See ya.
My brother, Andrew Carpenter. Peace.
Hey.
Well, special guest there. So had a good time. What up, Johnny? Glad to see you, bud. So yeah, that was a Cleveland game. So we're gonna
That Cleveland game was horrible for me in more ways because I started T. Higgins and Burrow, and as they give me 0-0 and I lose my fantasy game because of that. So I could have won if I got rid of either one of those. But it's always like, you can't think to yourself, oh, hey, Burrow's going to be horrible. He's going to give me 2 points. That was a terrible game.
Yeah. Well, talk about a great game and a great way to start the whole. We started with the shittiest game, which was the Ohio Bowl, because it was ugly. It was full of punts and fumbles and shit. Joe Burrow was absolutely terrible. So condolences to everybody who drafted him early on. But now Thursday, rewind, it was awesome. Shit popped off. So we got the Detroit Lions upsetting the world champion Kansas City Chiefs, and it was just insane. What a great game! Lots of drops. Kadarius Toney should be fired. Thoughts, boys?
Well, that's the biggest part. You just said lots of drops. That's why it looked like a preseason game, and you could definitely tell that their number one receiver, Travis Kelce, was not there. You can definitely tell them they're a different team. Patrick Mahomes did not do all that bad. He was throwing balls mostly on target. A lot of them hit their hands, and they just can't catch it. There was an interception for a touchdown that bounced off, and it was a good pass. So I don't get to as everybody was already saying, it's just week one. We're getting through it. Kansas City is still the team to beat in the AFC. That's the way it is. What do you guys think?
People keep talking about the damn Bills. I don't know. We'll talk about that later. Go ahead. Sorry.
Well, again, I think you said it was a great football game. 21-20, it was a close football game, which makes games exciting. I don't think it was necessarily a great football game. I think there were mistakes made by both teams. We obviously referenced the drop passes on the side of the ball of the Kansas City Chiefs, a pick six. Marvin Jones Jr. fumbles for the first time in his career. He had, I think, the longest active streak of touches without fumbling a ball, so you didn't expect to see that. And I just think it's funny that you're piling on Cincinnati and Cleveland. A total of 17 punts in that game, a lot of punts. But this game also featured 10 punts. So there was a lot of 3-and-outs, a lot of non-scoring in this one. Again, it's just indicative of early football. And I just think on the Lions side of things, you're coming into a game, no Travis Kelce, no Chris Jones. So arguably two of the best players Kansas City has on the roster, or I guess Chris Jones technically on the roster, not on the roster, however you want to factor that in before the game. But They came in and they did what they had to do. And, the great story ending last year, I think they won, was it like 6 of the last 7 games or 7 of the last 8? They went into Lambeau and beat Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers, their last game of the season, knocked them out of the playoffs. To come back, this was a big spotlight game for the Detroit Lions, prime time, banner raising for the Kansas City Chiefs, defending Super Bowl champions. And they did what they had to do. They came in, they made enough plays, and they walk away with the win. And for the first time, I think in a long time, we got to say the Detroit Lions were the best team in football based on record after Thursday night, and Patrick Mahomes led the league in interceptions.
Short-lived. And to piggyback off that,
Josh Allen said, "Hold my beer."
Goff is closing in on the NFL record for consecutive passes without an INT. So, so he's better than we think.
You jinxed it right here. Timestamp.
That's what we do.
There you go, Brandon. I have a question for you on that. If you're the coach of Kansas City, do you go for it with 3 minutes left and 3 timeouts left with 4th and 25? Do you go for it or do you punt it away and use your timeouts?
You should punt it and get away, because I didn't think they were killing him that much. So that was kind of crazy. It's funny. What I got from it is Kansas City going into the season with this wide receiver core, which is astonishing, right? Like there's just nobody there, and to put everything on Kelce, I just makes me think that a good team's going to eventually, especially maybe in the playoffs, find a way to kind of bracket Kelce. And they used to always have some guy out there that can make some catches. And so when they got rid of Tyreek, and they at least had J.J. Smith-Schuster, they had McCole Hardman. And to not replace those guys with anything, and to bring Sky Moore, there's Tony, like that receiver core is rough, and it kind of scares me a little bit. Like Patrick Mahomes is going to win you games, but eventually you're going to need a dog or two in there. I think everybody thought it was Kelce last year, but there was a couple guys that would make some plays now and then. And this wide receiver core looks like, man, if they could just hold Kelce down, you're going to be able to really stop this offense in some ways that you never could before.
Right.
And so I think that's the one thing I got saying is that I don't trust anybody on that Kansas City wide receiver core. And I think that's going to come back to haunt them a little bit, that they didn't spend a little money out there to try to get anybody,
And we're fickle fans, because wasn't it Sky Moore and Kadarius Toney that both scored touchdowns in a Super Bowl victory a few months ago? Didn't they both reach the end zone?
They did.
But they didn't have good years, though. They just scored a touchdown in the Super Bowl.
Like, exactly.
Happen a little bit, and and there's always some guy in the Super Bowl, Larry Brown or somebody like that has a good Super Bowl game, even wins an MVP. But going into the year thinking you're going to get 70, 80 catches out of these guys, that these guys were somehow going to be, first down markers. No real veteran on that team. Like Hardman was there for a while. So, just either nobody that's like, hey, I'm going to get you 6 yards except for Kelsey. And so you like to have at least one person on the outside that can break one-on-one coverage. And I just didn't see it. When they did, they didn't hold on to the ball. So that's that. When they play a vaunted defense with a hard secondary, that might be some troublesome.
No, you did not, Johnny. We have not talked about Tua Hill yet. We actually have to pick up the pace a little bit because at this pace, we'll be talking till next.
Next Tuesday. Just very quickly, I also want to point out Jawan Taylor, the right tackle, clearly lining up too far back from the line of scrimmage, and he finally got flagged for it. And they're going to have to clean that up. They got to shore up that offensive line because we saw, I hate to keep bringing up the Chiefs in the Super Bowl, but they're in it a lot. But the one that they lost to Tom Brady and the Buccaneers, when Patrick Mahomes does not have a good offensive line, it can look horribly, horribly bad for him and everyone involved in that offense. So they got to shore that up. And Jawan Taylor has to line up properly. It was egregious.
Hey, it
was 5 times.
Lining up.
Yeah.
It was all game, and then he got flagged on the final series. And to Dave's point, 4th and 25, I don't know why you go for it, especially on your own 30-yard line.
Nope.
But
with those guys, like no Kelsey, that was kind of thing. Like if you had Kelsey, if you had the dogs, and I'm like, hey man, it's Patrick Mahomes, go for it. But it's like you see this, you weren't really doing anything the whole game.
Bad coaching decision at the end.
It's easy to point it out when it doesn't work. If it works, we're praising them. Just like Dan Campbell goes for it early in the game in his own end, runs a fake punt. He gets it. He's a genius, right? We criticize after the fact, but that's why we love this game.
We're going to talk about the Dolphins pretty soon, and the Dolphins went for it on 4th and 7. Didn't think about it. Tua didn't even audible. He just fucking threw it, and he hit it on a dime. So we'll talk about that. But next game on the slate is the Falcons and the Carolina Panthers, young teams. Who the hell is Desmond Ridder?
Desmond Ridder is the quarterback is going to make the Atlanta Falcons win that division. I'm pretty sure I'm the only one that picked the Falcons to win the division, by the way. I know for a fact.
We didn't write that down. I don't remember.
It's on tape. We've got it.
I think it was.
Aside from that, Tyler Algier, I believe he
Vultured. Fantasy Vulture.
He was. That guy's a beast. That guy. There was a couple running backs that really improved me. Really impressed me. He was definitely one of them. That guy keeps his feet moving. Aside from that, boring game. Atlanta wins. What do you guys got to say?
I mean, you guys got a rookie on that side.
I got nothing out of it. It tells me Arthur Smith still doesn't like to use Kyle Pitts.
What's up with that?
Even Drake London didn't get going, and so it showed me, two bad teams playing and someone had to win, and Bryce Young just kind of turning the ball over, just because he hasn't seen that much defense, and so they kind of took advantage of a rookie quarterback. But I don't believe in Atlanta any. They still look like they're struggling to get except for a couple dump passes to Bijan Robinson. The offense looked like it was Mariota was back in there again.
Yep.
So.
No difference. It felt like Bijan was the only person on that field that was worth a damn. Drake London was completely out of the picture. They look one dimensional and slow. The offense looked slow in general. So except for Bijan, honestly, not something that was, on the Red Zone channel too often. So
no.
Right.
So are you talking about?
All right.
You're talking about the jellyfish? Yeah. Yeah. Let's see. Zach Barker we're going to talk about. Oh, okay. So we just talked about that, but thank you for chiming in. What's your opinion on Joe Burrow? Heard he's been doing some weird stuff with animals lately. All love. The man has gone to 2 Tiger teams. Maybe he would call him the Tiger King. Yeah. Burrow been fucking dogs, man. Shit's wild. Cool, man. That's amazing.
All right.
Damn.
It's crazy. I can't believe it. I'm putting him on a
metaphor. I don't think that's literal.
So much it's metaphorical.
I'm hoping so, but that's not this show anyway. That's our show on Wednesday nights.
It could be. Have an open mind, you guys. Have an open mind.
All right. So, what do we got next? Go ahead.
So just very quickly, I just wanted to say, so from Atlanta's point of things, Bijan Robinson, beautiful touchdown that he scored. Maybe putting running back relevance on the map again. Didn't see the game, but you see the box score. Desmond Ridder, 15 for 18, 83% passer. So he's just doing what he has to do to manage the game. Quarterbacks don't like being called game managers, but all you want to do is win football games. And then the other thing, quarterbacks drafted first overall. So Bryce Young, obviously the first overall pick from last year's draft or this year's draft. Since 2002, 0-13-1 in their first ever career starts, including 0-7-1 in week 1, with each quarterback throwing an INT. So now make that 0-8-1. The last 9 quarterbacks to start week 1 as the first overall pick, all losing and all throwing at least 1 pick in those starts. So that includes, obviously, Trevor Lawrence has done it. Joe Burrow has done it. We've talked both about them. Kyler Murray has done it. Jameis Winston, Andrew Luck, Cam Newton, Sam Bradford, and Matthew Stafford, all on that list.
I was about to say Matthew Stafford for sure.
Bryce Young is on a wonderful list. And the last quarterback to win their opening day start, drafted first overall, David Carr, beating my Dallas Cowboys in a horrible, horrible football game.
The 2002.
The 2002 plucky Houston Texans first ever game, winning 19-10.
I remember that game, yes.
Quincy Carter started for the Dallas Cowboys. The Quincy Carter era was short-lived. But true to David Carr's form, the most sacked quarterback in NFL history got sacked 6 times in that victory, nonetheless.
Oh
well, there you go. So you're saying Bryce is going to be okay. He's going to be all right.
He might be. Like, he could either be a Trevor Lawrence or a Joe Burrow. He could be a Kyler Murray. He could be an Andrew Luck. He could be a Cam Newton. He could be a David Carr. Who knows?
He could be an RG3.
But now he is just another statistic for futility as the first overall
pick. He could be an RG3. Speaking of Houston, Houston played a football game with the Baltimore Ravens, and it went kind of the way you would expect, right?
Yeah.
I mean, if there's a couple of things that are guaranteed in life, it's unfortunate to say, but J.K. Dobbins getting a devastating injury just seems to be one of those things at this point. It'll be another year where he misses the entire season. So talk about, I think, was he the Achilles as well this time? I know he had an ACL before, but before the Achilles became super popular from last night, J.K. Dobbins out again. So we'll see what that means for the Baltimore Ravens and that run game. Reports are saying they're going to go in-house to try and replace him, but no J.K. Dobbins anymore.
There's Jonathan Taylor's on the market.
Melvin Gordon, I think, off the practice squad. So
you can trade for Jonathan at any time as long as you have 3 first-round picks. You got Lamar Jackson and Odell Beckham,
and sign him to a big contract after that.
And then reset the market with him. Not going to happen. If they want, do you think that they actually have the team, the Baltimore Ravens, to actually do anything? Is it even worth making a trade for an elite running back like that?
I think you have the best running back in football in Lamar Jackson, so no.
And again, RG3.
You're not wrong.
I feel like he should have been RG3. I'm not praying for this, but I mean, the way he runs is just it's so quick that I feel like he's going to get popped any minute. Do some lasting damage because he's a slender guy. He's big, but I mean, at any moment he can take it to the just the way RG3 did. He was going to the sideline. It's not that hard to do. But it's hard to watch sometimes. But yeah,
I think for them it's something they'll explore. Obviously, I think Baltimore, a lot of people predicted, and I'm pretty sure some of us felt the same way. They could be, one of these teams that could compete for a Super Bowl, definitely compete for that AFC North division. Obviously, they beat a bad Houston Texans team 25-9. I think I saw that was the first ever 25-9 game in NFL history. I feel like in the last couple of years, we've seen these unique scores all the time. But they have Gus Edwards. They have Justice Hill. The rookie, Zay Flowers, had 2 carries as well. Obviously, you have Lamar Jackson. I think they go with what they have in-house. I think I forget who the new offensive coordinator is in Baltimore, but they have a new offense around him to try things out. So I think you stay with what's there, but, come trade deadline time, depending on where you are in the season, how you feel like your offense is progressing, maybe they do reach out to somebody via trade or maybe a free agent. But if you're Baltimore right now, you won week 1. Yes, the injury sucks, but you're 1-0 and you're moving on.
We got Patrick Queen closing in on CJ Stroud quick. So these guys are flying to the ball. I don't think he had a chance back there. And I knew that all 3 rookie quarterbacks were definitely going to take a loss. It's just their matchups were too heavy. There was no Cinderella. You're like, oh, look at me out of the gate. No, you're gonna take your lumps like Peyton Manning did. You're gonna go 3-13 like he did, and you kind of almost deserve it because you know what? You need to have a losing season, and you need to have a good draft pick. Aside from that, on the rookie quarterback second year, hopefully he matures, and then you can get yourself a missing piece that you need in year 2. But right out of the gate, it's hard to put that together. So yeah, that
but
was.
I think you just, are you leading your quarterback to the slaughter? Like we mentioned, David Carr was sacked 6 times in his opening game, and then was sacked repeatedly throughout his career. You have to be able to build not necessarily a receiving core or running back, but get an established offensive line, protect these quarterbacks because you're not giving them a chance. And if they start to develop bad habits, happy feet, not going through their progressions, it's going to be very hard for them to relearn all these things if they're fearing for their life every time they drop back trying to throw the football.
I mean, their psyche will be destroyed, right?
Yeah.
Andrew Luck. Yeah. So I was with you, Brandon, when we saw these games, all of them together. I remember that Odell Beckham also got into the mix, and Zay Flowers seems like a really special player.
You know what? I'm thinking that Zay Flowers is probably going to be their best receiver, and so I'm telling you right now, I think he's something special. I think they're going to try to focus more on the passing game than the running this year. So, losing J.K. Dobbins is tough, but it's not as bad as it was a couple years ago when that's all they did was run.
Right.
I think this thing could definitely – I want to see how they kind of pan out. They're going to get Melvin Gordon off the practice squad. He's full of fumbles, though, so, we don't know where he's going to be at. But this is a tough team. They're going to be in a hell division. Their thing is attrition. They lost guards, too. They lost a lot of – they lost Williams, the safety. Can they overcome it? Like, what's going to be left of the team at the end of the year?
Right. Contracts coming due. Marcus Williams is out for a while. Surgery, maybe. And just, I don't know. I'm going to put this out there. I don't like purple teams.
Hey.
You know that. I've always told you that. For 20 years, I've been telling you that. Yeah, I don't like them. I don't trust purple teams. So
it's royalty.
Yeah. Oh yeah. But yeah. So injuries as far as J.K. Dobbins having surgery, he's aiming for a quick return, which means what?
2024.
2024. At least 6 months.
Yeah, but his career might be over. Running back position, you're already kind of
How long are you going to be? Are you going to string yourself along and injury after injury, and then who's going to pay? They're not going to pay healthy ones. So if
so you might be that kind of back where they bring you in when everybody else gets hurt, but to get a contract after this is going to be tough.
Just going to say that Harbaugh said he does not expect the Ravens to sign another running back and expressed confidence in veteran Melvin Gordon III, who has chronic fumbleitis.
Until they get hurt, like you're not going to last all year with these guys. One of these guys going to hurt himself, so you definitely have to try someone out.
That's true. That's true, my boy. So, I mean, Houston, they're going to have to take their lumps. Lamar is out there, and I think he might be wasting his career. I think probably something that could have happened was him getting moved, and they just weren't in that position to pay a quarterback all that kind of money. I don't know. He's special, but you need so many things, and that's not going to.
Yeah, but you just don't want to go back to the well and look for it again, though, too. So it's like when you get him, you do have to pay for him because searching for one takes forever.
It also depends what year you're trying to rebuild into, because if you could be ready to go with no quarterbacks on the board.
They should have done a better job early in his career of signing wide receivers or getting the things ready to go. So by the time now he could be orchestrating offenses. It feels like now they're finally getting them ready, but they've already paid him, so it's going to be a little tighter on them.
Dan, Johnny wants to know if ODB stays healthy the whole season.
He's asking me if he stays healthy the whole season?
I'm asking you. I think you might know.
I mean, I don't think we know if anybody's going to stay healthy all season. I think Odell Beckham Jr. We also have to ask the question of Lamar Jackson. He hasn't played a full season his last couple of years out. So
that's right. And ODB's prone.
But I mean, right, sitting here right now, week 1, I'll say yes. He'll play all 17 games.
I mean, he has almost no tread on the tires. He's just a mercenary for hire. He plays a year. He takes a half a year off. He gets signed. He wins a Super Bowl. He goes to take a nap. Johnny.
But again, kind of like we talked about. Sorry, with Kansas City Chiefs, it's a veteran name and voice in that locker room. So he will help the young Zay Flowers, and he'll help that locker room. And he will. There'll be a couple plays this year that'll make you remember, the greatness that is Odell Beckham Jr.
Quickest answer to ODB staying healthy: no.
I don't think he'll play all 17 games. I don't think he'll have like a catastrophic injury that knocks him out for the whole year. But he might, he might be out a game or two, dealing with something. But I don't think any torn ACLs or anything. but he's not even asked to be their number
So
one.
he'll do better than Aaron Rodgers.
Yes.
Oh.
Hopefully those season endings.
Let's put a pin in that. Let's put a pin in that.
Yeah,
I'm waiting for that one.
Mr.
ready to.
Mr. Watson.
I'm waiting for this one too.
My dear Watson.
Yes.
31-21. Your Jacksonville Duval Jaguars take the Colts to the cleaners in a nail biter because we thought the Colts were going to take it.
Well, we didn't. Who's we? Who's we?
not Jags fans.
All right. Well, no. I don't think anybody really thought the Colts were going to take it. Even, I've been through games. I've been through games, plenty of games where we get, 3, 7, 10 points behind. And I'm like, and I have no faith. I don't know. Maybe I'm spoiled from last year when they came back. I wasn't worried when they went down 10 points. Or when they went down, it was 21 to once they took the lead. 4. They didn't go down 10. They went down 4. But I wasn't worried at that point. And I was excited to see Ridley, like you had already mentioned, Ridley and ETN.
I drafted them both. I drafted them both on the same team.
Now, I'm not going to say there weren't some dumb mistakes. That double fumble return for a touchdown. Tank Bigsby needs to play to the whistle. I will say that. Aside from that, I was pretty impressed with my team. They look good. Ridley you can throw him a 10-yard ball and he just busts in between two receivers, makes them hit each other, and then just explodes for another 10, 15, 20 yards or whatever it is. It happened multiple times or more than once. I think actually this was he had 9 receptions for almost 100 yards just in the first half alone. And then ended up, I don't know. I'm excited. That's all I can say. What did you guys think? They're my team. What did you guys think?
I loved everything they did. They got down, came back, and you didn't see any panic in them. You didn't see the oh my God, everything's gonna go fall apart. It was like, hey, look, we got this. We're gonna be able to withstand that early hit because you knew that that rookie was eventually gonna make some mistakes. They couldn't run the football worth the hell. And so my thing was I took away from it. I was a little more impressed by the Colts because I thought they were just going to be such a dumpster fire that I thought, okay, things that they're doing here.
Right.
The Jags, I already penciled them in for the win just because it was like, look at, this team had so many, were better in every way than the Colts, and I was just surprised they didn't.
I'm just impressed at Trevor Lawrence and the way he actually leads. Since about halfway through the year last year, he doesn't. You're exactly right. He looks like he's confident, even when they're behind. He is that team leader. And I tell you what, that receiving core, except for I don't know where, like you guys had talked about, I have no idea where Christian Kirk was. I think he had 1 reception. One reception.
He disappeared. He disappeared behind Calvin Ridley's 101.
Yards. But Evan Ingram, Zay Jones had that just sweet catch in the back of the end zone. Yeah. I'm impressed at where they're going. They look good together. They look like they play really well together. They look like they've been playing together for a long time. And I'm excited to see what happens next.
Yeah.
Measured response.
I didn't see too much of the game, but obviously you talk about week 1, all the craziness. I think the craziest play that I did see was obviously this fumble recovery touchdown where Trevor Lawrence fumbles the ball. I guess I saw the highlight, but I don't remember exactly, but it looks like, I guess, one of those, was he throwing the ball forward? Did he get hit out of his hand too early? It's picked up. It's almost like everybody stops playing, but a few of the Colts players that punch the ball out of Tank Bigsby's hand, pick it up. DeForest Buckner runs it in. After all the reviews and all the processes, they call it a touchdown, and the Jags go down by 4. Now, obviously, you see this Jags team come back. They keep their composure. They do win the game. Not watching the game, Dave, but I know you were. Trevor Lawrence, obviously, great season last year. 17 interceptions his rookie season in 17 games. Cut that down to 8 last year. He did throw a pick in this one. How did he throw this pick? I didn't see it. Was it basically how did it happen? And are you concerned him throwing a pick week 1, or was this maybe just an aberration? Was it off somebody's hands? Was it a bad decision? How did that pick go?
I'm not concerned, and here's why. It was earlier in the game, and I barely even remember it. So I don't know. I can't tell you how it went because I was so focused on, the fumble, double fumble, like I said, that Tank Bigsby, he basically caught the fumble, but it was off the ground. But the actual pick from Trevor Lawrence, I'm not replaying it in my head. I was thinking, I basically focus on all the good stuff.
Hey, I don't mind.
I was trying not to.
Interceptions, though. That's the key thing. Is like sometimes, like, look at because he's being aggressive, right? The guy that goes, oh, he didn't throw any picks, yeah, but when he doesn't push the ball down the field either, and so when we need
him, you got to try.
He's not going to be able to. Right. Like, I think interceptions are a little. I think we put too much weight on them. Like, it's when you like. I don't touchdowns in the end zone. I'm more concerned about trying to push the ball down the yard on your 30-yard line. We can live with that. As long as you're trying to be aggressive. I don't need check down Charlies with 5.
If you're looking at a second and long, you got to take a chance, and those chances, you can pop one up. There's a lot. I was
more concerned about the 2 4th downs they went for with a yard to go and didn't get. Those kind of bugged me, but in response to and I'm jumping around right here, but I remember after going back up for the lead, after we did go down and Tank Bigsby did make that mistake, he did drag. There was one play where they handed him the ball about the 6-yard line, and he drug the entire defense along with some of his players too, all the way down to the 1, almost scored on that. He definitely made up for it next. He didn't have a ton of actual yards from scrimmage, but he is the 3rd down back and the goal line back. And I'm excited about him as well. That guy, he's a beast. He doesn't give up. It's almost like having Fred Taylor and MJD back in the same backfield again.
You live in the past.
But with having Bigsby and Etienne, I'm telling you right now, those two complement each other so well.
They sure do. Okay, last question for the Jaguars. Oh, I'm sorry.
I was going to say, not to jump too far ahead, but I was just going to say, obviously, Jacksonville home debut in Duval County next week against the 0-1 Kansas City Chiefs. This could be a very interesting game coming up, but we don't want to get ahead of ourselves.
We don't.
You know what? You're right about that. Let's check out. The Kansas City Chiefs come to town.
They do.
Duval.
And, I don't know. Kansas City 0-2.
The disrespect for the Jaguars, a 3-point underdog right now at home.
Oh, they are disrespecting them. What? They're going to be in their game day teals? They're going to break out the teals? Are you going to break out the rum for that?
I'm going to break it out every day until then. And then every day after, just for that game.
Let's get it. All right. So last question. Michael Pico wants to know, can the Jaguars find any semblance of a running game this year? Because I still don't trust that backfield.
I absolutely just explained it, and I definitely trust it. I just compared it to Fred Taylor and MJD in the same backfield.
I know.
And I definitely trust it. They've got a full complement around Trevor Lawrence, receivers and running backs. They're going to be hard to beat on offense.
Do not. Thank you for responding to Michael. Don't sleep. Don't sleep on Calvin Ridley. This man got 1,300 yards opposite Julio Jones. He's got no trail. I think it's going to be
like one of these kind of MVP kind of years, things like when you give a Stephon Diggs to Josh Allen, when you give an AJ Brown to Jalen Hurts. Now you're going to see what giving to Calvin Ridley to Trevor Lawrence is going to do, and all of a sudden you get that big spike here where just the numbers go up, and you're talking MVP usually, and you get that 13-3 kind of year. Doesn't mean it wins, but it looks like they're just going to be able to kind of eat through a bad division and some good wins, and they're great too, so it just looks like that team that could take off this year and be one of those high seats.
Anyway, Northern Florida is basically Georgia, so fuck them.
And just one very last note. Obviously, we saw Anthony Richardson go down late in this one. Gardner Minshew came in for a couple of late snaps, trying to close the gap there near the goal line. Anthony Richardson, similar comparisons to a Cam Newton right now. His size, his mobility, taking some unnecessary hits. Is it sustainable? But hopefully he's okay and good to go for week 2 for the Colts.
Talk about RG3 vibes. That gave me another RG. I was like, come on, man. Like,
this kid's bigger than RG3. They're going to run him more like Josh Allen. This kid is huge.
We'll talk about.
I was actually really impressed by him for the majority of that game and surprised.
So,
if he figures it out, it out and gets it he could. Ooh, man, he could be like a Josh Allen, Steve McNair kind of thing where it's hard to defend him.
He's a super bright kid. Super bright kid too. So he's really, really good. All right. So let's move on to now we come tap on your door, big dog, because now we're talking about the purple people leaders taking on Dave's wife's favorite team, Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Yeah, man. Just kind of, there's good things and bad things. Good things. I think the I like what Brian Flores was doing with the defense. I thought they played a little more aggressive. They didn't just get too beat up, but there's still a lot of work on that secondary. And then, really fumbled the game away. The pick in the end zone, ridiculous. You can't let that go. That's points on the board. And then the fumble, it looked like the offensive line was struggling the whole game. And when you can't protect Cousins, then it's going to be sketchy. But I did like Jordan Addison's kind of scoring. It just felt like you can't lose these home games like this. Like this is, if it was a road, because then you got to go on the road to Philly on Thursday night, start 0-2. It could be tough. Two of a whole of a climb, and then you're one of those teams scrapping at the end of the year, and and you could tiebreakers and things of that nature where this game will come back to haunt them tenfold. So bad loss.
Bad loss and a bad follow-up with a Thursday night quick turnaround against Philadelphia.
Yeah, you're the first Thursday night game on the road. So and we always play horrible in Philly. Like whether it's NFC Championship game, playoff games, like anytime my Minnesota has to go to Philly for just even picking up a cheesesteak, they end up losing the sandwich. So it's scary. Like you can almost book the loss. I just can't see us. We've had better teams going up there and
just pile on and just mention Kirk Cousins' record in prime time too. If you just want to continue to make excuses for your Vikings.
Yeah, it's going to be definitely an uphill battle. The goal is just to get out of there with any injuries.
Right.
Take the loss, but don't lose like Justin Jefferson for the year on some twisted or something. So
because you already got Christian Darrisaw and you got Marcus Davenport. These guys aren't practicing, and then Garrett Bradbury ain't doing it either. So both of
against that defensive line. Man.
Right.
Just get out of there. Safe.
And then 0-2 is much different than 1-1. It's so drastically different. So
it is.
It's
not as bad in a 17-week season as it used to be, but you're gonna need you got to win the next two. You got to finish 2-2. So
I mean, you definitely got your purple on. I was right there next to you, and you were just completely laser focused on that game at the end there, and you were crushed.
Dedicated for it, yeah.
You were crushed.
But I kind of knew, if you're a Viking fan, you're like, oh, this smells like a game we're gonna fuck around and lose. And
so
I saw a bit of the game, but Brian, just a prevailing trend that you notice in the NFL: low rushing totals for teams. Minnesota comes out and they rush for a total of 41 total yards. Was this just an inability to run the football, a lack of desire to run the football? And do you think they're going to have to rely on the run a little bit more? Obviously, Kirk Cousins throws for over 300 yards, but is this a team that needs to be able to sort of possess the ball, own some of the time of possession, and focus more on the rush? And is Madison? Is it Madison or Matheson? Madison? Madison?
Yeah.
Is he the back that's going to get it done? You let Dalvin Cook walk, replace him with Madison. Is he capable of being your bell cow back in Minnesota?
I don't think so. Like that's kind of scares me because there's no breakaway speed. He doesn't go for long runs. He looks like what he is, which kind of like a smash mouth guy. I guess at least in today's game is you don't have to rely on the running back so much. So that's going to be a glaring hole for the team. But there's no before Dalvin Cook was not just the back. Like he was the kind of the screen guy where you could just drop it off to him and he can kind of score for 15 yards. This kid doesn't really show that kind of elite speed. And then, it's definitely looking bad because I don't think we even tried to run it, and it just seemed like, hey, look, I got all these weapons, whether it's Jefferson, Addison, Hawkinson, KJ Osborne. It was like, it's easier for Kevin Connolly to keep dialing up passing plays. And the problem with that is that I don't like Cousins in that 35 to 40 range on throwing, I like it when he's more of that, game manager type with some play actions. But again, you end up sprucing all these people around him, and then the running game didn't look good when it ran, but yeah, it's always like 3-4 yards to the clip, nothing big, no breakaway.
I think they might be, banking on the fact that they have Addison and Justin Jefferson, and they're like, you know what, let's just air it out. I think it's a little bit too much hype. You still got to have a good running game.
That's exactly what they were doing. They threw it 44 times in the game. 33 of 44 was Cousins, and now Jefferson had 150 yards. But they didn't run at all. They've got to be more two-dimensional. They can't just throw the ball every single time. And honestly, on the other side of the ball, my wife not all that excited about Baker Mayfield coming to her Tampa Bay Buccaneers, but
likes him now.
He managed the game and he won.
Yeah.
I also, when we were talking about fourth down plays and people going for fourth down plays with 8 minutes left, a little over 8 minutes left in the game. At their own 38-yard line, the Buccaneers go for a 4th and 1 and make it. So again, terrible decision if you miss, good decision if you made it, but they made it 4th and 1. I was surprised by how many 4th down plays people were going for, and each team was going for this past weekend, but they made it, and they end up going down that drive, I believe, and winning the game. So
I think you're right. There's an uptick in that. There's an uptick in going forward, and I think it's a byproduct of being in a passing league. Eventually, this is going to happen where it's like
it's just called analytics. That's what the analytics say.
Right.
You know it.
Well, and what's crazy in this one too is sitting there as a Vikings fan. Tampa Bay, like you said, gets that field goal to go up 20-17. They kick off. Minnesota gets the ball back. They go 3 and out. So it's a 4th and 7 on their 28 with 4 minutes and 3 seconds left. I believe they still had 2 or 3 timeouts left. And they decide to punt the ball. Yeah. And Tampa Bay took the ball with 3:52 left, and they ran out the clock, which is something you don't see too often. But you trust your defense is going to make a stop. They couldn't get it done. And Tampa Bay didn't run the ball well for their part, but they managed to run it well enough, and they don't give the ball back. And then it's, that anticlimactic, just run out the clock, take a couple knees, and they go on the road, and they get a win week 1. I think the one thing with Tampa Bay, Mike Evans is still a great receiver, no matter who his quarterback is. Mm-hmm. And he might be one of the best deep ball catchers in the NFL right now.
Grown-ass man.
Yeah,
I would agree.
And you keep the Buccaneers at 20 points. You did your job that's what the team was built to do, is keep the the team was built to score 27 points, right? And so when it scores 17, the offense lost this game totally. So it's hard to even be. Actually, I was surprised the defense did what they were supposed to do. If we were giving up 28 and Baker Mayfield threw for 300, I would be like, oh man, same old Vikings defense. Or
drop 3 picks, which he's done also. He's given me 3 picks in a game.
It felt like I liked the way the defense was kind of playing. If you hold the Buccaneers at 20, that was the game plan executed well. Offensively, it just looks like we were just going to basically pick a pass play every time, like we're playing Madden, and then just hope to God, the guys catch it and not get his bell rung, and we can protect, and that's the one thing too. And also too, Dalvin Cook's also a great pass blocker. Like too, when you take away those guys on 3rd down, and then all of a sudden the pass rush gets through a little before more, you had that 1 second he could get the ball off. So I noticed that a lot too.
I agree.
End up diving in Thursday. I got it. So in 4 days, I got to watch my team get bludgeoningly beat again. It's like, oh.
Yeah. Sorry, guys. I had to turn the light on. Much better.
All right. Good.
So, man, it was good to watch you back in your element. You're always, that's what you say, right? You get your purple on? Are you purpling? Are you purpling today? So that was sweet. I was losing my mind when it came to my game, but let's move on to the next.
Yeah.
Let's see. Let's go on to an actual banger here, because this one was fun to watch. A lot of predictions that were like, oh, maybe the Steelers could pull it out. But I just commented back to Dan Rod on IG where, I had posted on my story, like, there's a couple of home dogs that you might want to take a look at. Pittsburgh, one of them, that aged like a dirty diaper.
You could have just said like home dogs, like the Cleveland Browns. You were all over the Cleveland Browns. Home dog. Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly. Exactly. But this was a stinker of a game. I mean, nice if you want to watch San Francisco be the dominant defense that they are, which, I mean, I very much enjoyed it. They're my fantasy defense. However, I was there at the Miami Dolphins game in San Francisco when Brock Purdy took over from Jimmy Garoppolo, and he proceeded to whoop my Dolphins' ass. So he gave me front row tickets to my ass whooping. So this game was really boring. I was every time it came on, I looked at my phone. It just did. I do have George Pickens as a wide receiver in fantasy, so I took a look at that. And I also have Micah Fitzpatrick as my starting individual defensive player, so that was awesome. So I kind of enjoyed it for personal reasons, but I didn't even bet it. It wasn't even a part of my tickets. I just didn't trust it.
So I'm watching I'm sorry. I was just going to say, I'm watching this one. I think the main thing is, if you're a 49ers fan, a lot of the expectation in the NFC was there was two teams, probably the class of the NFC, that would be the 49ers and the Eagles heading into the season. The Cowboys probably right underneath them as a third-tier team. Walking away from this, San Francisco still looks like they are the team to beat in the NFC, whereas we saw some of the heavyweights, the Cincinnati Bengals, the Kansas City Chiefs, lose in the AFC. San Francisco came in, they did what they had to do. They won a game on the road. They looked good doing it. And Brock Purdy, the last time we saw him, he couldn't even throw a football. So it was nice to see him be able to throw the ball. My one concern out of this one was Brock Purdy, you do not need to put your shoulder down and try and run people over in a game that you have well in hand. This isn't an NFC Championship game. This isn't a Super Bowl. This is week one, a game you're already winning big. Protect yourself, protect your arm. And San Francisco just looks like a well-built team. And you've referenced it many times, AC, about, when you pay your quarterback a lot of money, how does that diminish your roster in other places? San Francisco is the blueprint. If your quarterback's on a rookie deal and not making a lot of money, look at how much they're able to pay other people around him and build this great roster. This is very reminiscent of what Seattle was able to do with Russell Wilson his first few years.
Yep.
So we'll see. This window is open right now for the 49ers, and they look good. And I'm sure if you look at power rankings today, San Francisco is probably number one on a lot of people's boards, and rightfully so. They were probably the most dominant team we saw in week one.
Well, hold your horses. We have one more. You're forgetting about anyway. But no, this was actually, like I said, not a fun game to watch unless you have some money on it. If you are a San Francisco 49er, if you live in the Bay Area, but it was nothing exciting. It was kind of a blowout for the whole thing. Christian McCaffrey is probably the best running back in the NFL, like a dual threat running back, and that's for sure. Michael Pico says,
don't believe in preseason what it showed you, because Kenny Pickett was killing it in preseason, throwing all over the field.
Right.
And all of a sudden they take anything. So it's like those preseason numbers, again, they're all illusion. Nobody's playing any defense. It's all vanilla.
No. You don't bring out your prize horse at the practice derby. I don't know what that meant. I'm sorry. Michael Pico Jr. says Steelers fans hoping that this is their worst team will perform this year because yikes. I know, seriously. Well, I mean, you're up against a juggernaut also, Michael. It's crazy. It was crazy. So they were just it wasn't a good matchup, No.
At least not week one. They might be a team that gets it on late, because they got the young wide receivers and the young quarterback that they might figure it out later in the year.
Yeah, they might need a year, but while that happens, all of your defensive contracts lapse. You know what I'm saying? It's a different year next year. Yeah. So we'll see what happens.
Well, I think they'll figure it out later in the year, like around after Halloween or something. They might be a late second half team.
Got it. Let's take a quick look at the 49ers schedule and we'll move on. Looks like they handled the Pittsburgh Steelers, and they got at Los Angeles Rams, going not too far away from home. And okay, Dave, no worries. Not going too far away from home.
Be a lot of Niner games there.
Yeah, 50-50 red and blue split. Red and blue split. So let's move ahead. Since we have a couple things to talk about, we're going to just pick the juiciest games.
Let's go to the Fins.
We're going to do Las Vegas Raiders, Fins, and then the Monday night game.
Okay, let's Raider it up.
All right. So let's Raider it up because obviously we have a good perspective on that. And, of course, the Denver Broncos suck ass, and they ain't riding, baby. I don't know what they're doing. I don't know what they're doing, but they ain't riding. All that shit they talk.
It basically showed you that they kind of are right where they were last year, right? 16, 20 points a game. The weapons on the outside, without Judy, they struggled to find any kind of cohesiveness. It looked like two bad teams playing each other and someone had to win. It did. It looked like, don't be surprised if in like 6 months or like 3 months, these teams are both like at 2 or 3 wins, I didn't see anything I liked from either of them. Someone had to win at the end.
Yeah, I mean, what do you think about Sean? Is Sean Payton going to make all the difference in the world with this like bravado of like, oh, you know what? You're not kissing babies, Russell. Like you're a fucking football player. Let's get your head in the game, right, Dan? Like, is he going to like switch the whole thing or what? I don't know.
I mean, Sean Payton comes in there with lofty expectations, knowing what he did with Drew Brees. So I think it's interesting. Obviously, he's taken a lot of flack in the media for how he's criticized Russell Wilson. I'm wondering if this is all part of Sean Payton's plan to take the heat off of Russell Wilson, let him focus on the game, and bring all the heat on him. They come in week one. They lay an egg against the Raiders. I didn't see a lot of this game, so I don't really know exactly how it went. Obviously, you see the final score. The Raiders win by 1. But again, that's a divisional opponent at home, a game you should win, you expect to win. You go for an onside kick, which worked for you in the Super Bowl back in the day. You don't get it. So it's a little risky play by Sean Payton. But I think that this is a team, Russell Wilson, in my mind, cannot be as bad as he was last year. I think Sean Payton will help him, will fix Russ to some extent. And I think we will see some good things down the line from the Denver Broncos, but they're in a very tough division. They're in a tough conference. So I don't know what our expectations are of the Denver Broncos, but right now you're in a very competitive AFC West where the Las Vegas Raiders, let's give them their flowers. They're the only undefeated team in that division right now. They're 1-0. Every other team lost their week 1 game. And it's crazy if you look at the point differential from week 1, that AFC West, so Las Vegas leads the division. They're +1 in point differential because they beat the Broncos by 1. Kansas City lost by 1, the Chargers lost by 2, and the Denver Broncos lost by 1. So the point differential in that division is just ridiculously low. It looks like game 1 of an NHL start of the season or something like that.
True.
You know,
Jimmy Garoppolo, all he does is win, and he won.
And free sex, and he gets free sex at the Bunny Ranch. It has to play into his game.
Another bad pick in the end zone that didn't need to happen. Man, you know what? He even though Russ could be better, since that whole conference is really good, I just don't know how they get more than 6 wins out of there.
No, especially if the Raiders are viable. If the Raiders are shit,
yeah,
like you can maybe get away with it, but no way. Not
Raiders could, they got weapons on the outside. It's that defense that's gonna get them in trouble. No, the secondary's bad. No real pass rush. So
Max Crosby is a hell of a player. They just need another one. They need another one of him. That's the difference.
Yeah. Well, and then with Chandler Jones,
that whole situation. Okay,
be the other edge.
Is we both live in Las Vegas. I'm going to ask you this question: is Josh McDaniels really the best option we have for the Raiders? I mean, they will be looking for a new head coach next year, right? I mean, it has to happen. This guy alienates everybody. People hate him. They hate the system.
Yeah, remember, coaches' contracts are guaranteed. So you still paying Gruden to sit at home. Then you got to pay Josh McDaniels to sit at home. And then you got to pay another guy. And so I don't know if Mark Davis, it's not like he's one of those big billionaires like Kroenke and Tupper. I don't think he has that kind of money. I think
he's not the richest one. No.
You're just gonna have to finish that contract out. But to pay 2 coaches not to coach for you and then a third to do it, I just don't see that happening. Even though he may warrant a firing, I just don't see it happening.
I understand. All right.
You bring in Josh McDaniels. He's trying to build the New England Patriots West. He's got Garoppolo, Jacoby Myers, who had 2 touchdown catches, left the game with concussion. So we'll see how he progresses the protocol this week. But
and you got Stidham on the other side in Denver, sitting on the bench. You got a bunch of old Belichickian people.
They all do. Every disciple does the same thing. They usually bring in a general manager that was part of the player personnel there to be it's always like they have to come as a group and a team, right? So it's always happens, and then they end up trying to bring their own players in, and then they finish. And then by the time you fire them and have to get those players out, it just takes so many years and stuff. Like Detroit did, trying to get the Patricia team out of there, or the Giants trying to get all that Judge stuff. So unfortunately, they ruin your franchise for many years, even after they leave.
Yeah. Well, Chandler Jones is good. His brother can beat you up in 5 seconds. So you're totally, don't mess with him. But my point was another thing with Chandler Jones, and then, all the issues with alienating people. I'm in the city. So are you. We just hear a lot about a lot of friction between Josh McDaniels, his decisions, and what he's trying to do here is abrasive. It's not people see right through it. They don't want to be the Patriots. These people in the streets do not want to be the Patriots.
No.
It's already a displaced team with a weird diaspora of Vegas Raiders, but also there's a lot of Chargers fans. My brother-in-law Johnny Vegas here, he was a Chargers fan growing up the entire time because they didn't have a team, and now the Raiders are here. He's conflicted, and in the same division, I couldn't even imagine being in his shoes.
That's tough.
So that's
I'm talking about a team in the Las Vegas Raiders that was in Oakland, was in Los Angeles, so they bounced around.
Very nomadic.
Things like that. But you know what cures these dissension in the ranks and you're questioning your coach? Wins.
Just win, baby.
If they keep winning, I'm sure there'll be less chatter about getting rid of Josh McDaniels. And remember, this Raiders team was expected to be the worst team in the division and win maybe 3 to 4 games. So They're already a quarter of the way there.
If you're a Belichick disciple, if you're a Belichick and come from that tree, I don't want you on my team necessarily because one, you're not Bill Belichick. You're just a guy that is trying to be, because I'm only one of those guys. And number two, you don't really throw the fucking ball too much. And you just want like a 3-headed running back system, and then like your wide receivers languish, and you have 2 tight ends. That's what I've always seen Belichick. I've seen it personally. So he'll kill you with Aaron Hernandez and Gronk, and then you can have Jacoby Myers and whoever else. But I wouldn't want that offense in my city. That's all I'm saying.
Because they don't come with Tom Brady. Like that's the whole thing. Like it's still, it's like I got everything here, but a Tom Brady, and so that's usually what the downfield. Like
Johnny says he doesn't give a fuck. He's Chargers till he dies. He said bolt up. I'm from Vegas, born there. He said bolt up forever. Fuck the Raiders, right? Boom. All right. Let's skip ahead a little bit. We got to save room for the Dallas Cowboys because that's Dan Rod's game. We are going to skip some shit games like the Arizona Cardinals game. Let's go right to, in my opinion, I think
it's your turn.
In my humble opinion, the game of the week, the game of the year so far.
It was a great game.
Both sides, yeah.
It truly was. It started off shaky. I hated the fact that Cam Akers was killing us and Eckler was absolutely killing us with every run. It felt like Christian Wilkins wasn't even in the middle. It felt like Zach Sealer wasn't doing anything. It felt like Raekwon Davis was soft. Just the whole run defense was really soft. I was happy with our coverage, and you can tell the Fangio sauce is happening because they're in the right spaces, and it's been a while since I've seen my Dolphins lined up correctly, filling those gaps, at least in the secondary. There's a lot to be desired from the linebackers and from the defensive tackles in that game. I hope we get better, but it was enough. We gave up a lot of points. So
they're a good offense. So it's like you're gonna, and they're at home. So like to match blow for blow with them was key. And then it wasn't just ending the game on like some 50-yard bomb. It was ending it with the defense shutting it down, right? So that's always a nice thing because you're gonna need that sometime down the end of the year. They played like they're gonna get on a nice hot start. It's for them. You just want home field advantage. You don't want to be traveling to the cold in the playoffs. You want them to come down to Miami, and so I think that's going to be key. Especially now that with Rodgers gone, I think they have it's really going to be nice and easier for them. I think they got a chance to win the division.
Name me. No, that's a good question. Let me ask you all. Name me a team that relies on or would benefit from home field advantage more than us, instead of us having to go to the cold Buffalo, KC, all these places. It's better for us to win now so we can bring those playoffs home in 85-degree weather. In December.
The only team I can think of is Jacksonville.
Shut up.
No, I was going to say it is having a game at home in Miami an advantage because all these teams want to play in warm weather in the playoffs. There's a reason why the Super Bowl only goes to warm weather cities or dome cities. Very rarely, I think they went to New York one time and they got very lucky, but they do not want to see their best games played in adverse weather. So to your point, I think any team would love to be home for the playoffs, but I think any team would rather travel to Miami. You can't tell me that these Green Bay Packers love playing in Lambeau Field, not these 2023 Green Bay Packers. They're not going to love playing in the lore of Lambeau Field,
the frozen
minus
tundra
whatever it is in
Lambeau
Fahrenheit
Field.
for you weather, not being able to feel their fingertips.
But at least it levels the playing field.
At
least it levels the playing field a little bit. And two, we're conditioned in the summertime because our training camp it is 97 degrees with 100% humidity, so they're conditioned a little bit more. I defy anyone from the West Coast, Seattle, for example. I'd like to see the stat where Seattle comes to us because I feel like every time they come to us, they lose across the country, the farthest they can go.
Mm-hmm. That's a time zone thing as well.
They go have a couple mojitos on South Beach. They're all dehydrated and roasting in the hot 125 sun. That's our superpower. But
the Miami flu is real.
Yeah, mojitos. That's our superpower.
Well, and also too, especially a team that's very predicated on the passing, and so you don't want wind, you don't want something whipping through trying in January, so it's not just the cold weather itself, it's the elements of everything else. It could be snowy, it could be where it's hard visitation. They're not a powerhouse running team, and so you want ideal conditions best suited for this team. And and then it's also that that history that comes back. Playoffs are definitely more than anything. It's that, this team never wins. Like, it's just hard. Anytime they went to Buffalo, anytime they had to go to
every time frozen fish sticks.
It was like the team would freeze up. They're shivering over there. The other team has no sleeves on. It's definitely a mental game. If you can just avoid that altogether and just say, hey, look, if you beat us at home, in a beautiful sunshine, you'll live with that. But to try to go out where they're snow plowing the day before or something, man, coming from Florida, that's the worst, man, because you don't taste it until you fly in there. The whole week you're practicing in your beautiful 80-degree weather, and then all of a sudden you got to fly up there to get your balls kicked.
I guess I'm just a jaded Cowboys fan who's seen enough teams come into AT&T Stadium and win road playoff games whenever the Cowboys have a home playoff game of late. So
True that.
I don't think the
I
Cowboys
think that
have any home field advantage.
once they got rid of the old stadium with the with the hole in the sky and stuff, and it was you had to actually what do they say, God watching, like that one. That's
so
what
God
I
watches
best,
yeah.
Thing that this AT&T feels so like almost like kind of like SoFi, where it's like it's so big and you get so many different visitors and stuff. It just takes away from the true fans out there.
It really does. But
you've got to keep Tua healthy, and that's the biggest thing. That's what everybody's talking about. Can he stay healthy for an entire season?
Right.
And let me tell you, I've got Tua on both my fantasy teams. We left him on the bench on both teams, and we lost one of those. We got lucky and won the other one. Jamie Kelly says hi. Hello.
Hey, Jamie.
Even though we are streaming on the Married Couple podcast as well, this is NFL HQ, so welcome.
It is. Where is Sammy?
Anyway, but good win. And I think I'm also – she's in the other room. But the only other thing I was going to say is preseason picks. I did pick your team to win this division. Just pointing that out.
But I'd like to talk about the Brandon Staley, man. Like, he's supposed to be a defensive coach. They have all these guys up and down. They're paying a ton of money to these guys. And this is they're all healthy, and they just got bludgeoningly beaten. And here's my thing with it is, like, after, like, they don't do anything to change their thing on Tyreek Hill. It's like there's nothing. They should be bracketed with 3 or 4 guys. Let the other guys beat you. But after a while, after 150 yards, 11 catches, 200-something yards, it's like, when do you do something about that? Like, when do you start adjusting? And he calls the defensive plays as a head coach. And so,
and that's fine, because he's supposed to be a brilliant. I mean, he's supposed to be an absolute brilliant defensive coach.
You're supposed to be dialing up things with Joey Bosa. You have the linebacker core is whether it's the other guy that they got from the Raiders and Bears, J.C. Jackson, Darwin James. They have guys up and down this thing. To give up that many points at home, like, they just literally paper just going through, and it's like, that just shows me, it's like, look, Herbert can do all he wants until they get a defense that can hold anybody under 27, at home. It just got ridiculous.
So here's the thing, and I have to say this because he did things like this, right? So these are some of the passes he did. He gets the anticipation that Tua, and remember, I always said in the last couple of shows I've done, and Dan Rod, this is what I've told you, I wish I would have taken Herbert, right? What he's done today, what he did on Sunday, especially with that fade, when he threw an absolute dot to Tyreek Hill to win that game. And mind you, just a moment, I did bring my Ray Finkel jersey, because my Ray Finkel jersey for Jason Sanders, who missed the extra point and left us hanging by 2 to lose that game to a talented team with Keenan Allen on it that was killing it, and a tight end at 6'8". Okay,
best kicker your team's ever had.
Oh my God, Orlando Mare.
No, I meant Ray Finkel.
I thought you meant for real.
No, I meant Ray Finkel.
I was going to say Pete Sionovich or Pete something like that.
Johnny Vegas wants to know. He says, "Dude, seriously, no response to Hill and total mismanagement. Absolutely should have been a Chargers win." He says,
"There's
different
no
talking
safety over the top. I don't know what they're doing. So after a guy punches you 7 times in the face, you think to yourself, hey, let's try something different."
I wouldn't blame so much the defense as I would the fact that Tua has absolutely picked these people apart. He would throw it. I defy you to go see the rewind.
The replay,
right? Sorry, words are hard. Go see that and understand that he was throwing the ball at times before he would look away. He was doing them. He wouldn't even stare at. He would go through his 1, 2, 3 progressions, and he would let it go so quickly, and on the run, he hit Tyreek Hill on some weird wheel routes with that weird motion that we do that almost it's a running start into a wheel route. That's how we destroyed these people. The middle of the field was open. Their linebackers and safeties looked like shit. He was putting it on the money. I
do blame the defensive, because in this nature is like, if they were spreading around and everybody had 8, then there's nothing you could do. You're getting beat up on each side. 11 catches to him. Nobody had over 3, I think, on the whole other roster. So it just tells me is one man was beating you to death, and you could not stop it no matter what.
Waddle also had 100 yards. And, Durham Smythe had a good game too. He was passing around.
They didn't have a ton of receptions. Like Waddle had a lot, like on the 1 yard. Yeah.
Braxton Berrios caught 2 essential.
Those were some big fourth down.
Essential fourth down plays. The 4th and 7th.
You could live with those.
Smythe.
Like you could. It's okay to have the guy on 4th and 7. You can't give up too many 60-yard bombs. It was just kind of
the way he did it. He had more air yards than he did yak yards, and that's the main criticism against him. That he's like, he'll just yak it. That's bullshit. He had more air yards than Justin Herbert, and he had the same yak yardage, which was like about 150 yards. He had 466 yards passing, 1 interception, which is on a one-on-one play that he assessed on an audible to the left side to Jackson. And that was just him playing the numbers, because he were assassinating that kid for the entire game, and he just put it up, for grabs. It was a bad shoulder. If not, it would have been his 4th touchdown. He was on fire. He was putting it in places I've never seen. He had anticipation like I've never seen, and they were literally putting it in the pocket, playing the perfect Mike McDaniel's offense, and it was poetry to watch. He was an elite QB, and there I said it.
There he did.
I just want to ask you this question, AC, and I think, Brandon, you mentioned this Chargers defense. I think what really failed the Chargers defense, and maybe this is a compliment to Miami's offense, but all the talk was to his health, the concussions. We know the history. He was taking the jiu-jitsu to learn how to fall properly, to try and limit.
New helmet.
Now, you watched the game. I think I saw there was no sacks. Was there only one QB pressure the entire game on Tua?
With Isaiah Wynn, with Liam Eichenberg, the left guard, not playing, Isaiah Wynn's in, no Teron Armstead, and we stepped up and protected him like a decent serviceable offensive
he doesn't blitz much. He's rushing 4 consistently because he's keeping the DBs on side.
If you blitz, you're fucked against
this Miami offense. It's hard to do it anyways, because these wide receivers are better. But if you don't disrupt the timing and you let these guys just run free, they're gonna just pick you apart. Like, you better be able to jam these guys at the line, and then hope to God you have some type of pass rusher to get in there to just get to them as fast as you can. Right? Joey Bosa, no show. None of these guys kind of came through, and then you're leaving JC Jackson on an island with no over the top help. It's like.
What are you going to do? You have Waddle, and you have and you have Hill in exotic patterns where they're doing like wheel routes with comebacks, and it's disgusting. If you have the kind of timing where you're letting go of the ball before the pass rush can get to you, and he's making a comeback, and you've already thrown that ball, and you meet him, Tyreek's eyes weren't on those balls for a good second before he actually caught those. It was poetry.
No,
poetry.
Tough to stop.
Poetry.
No,
it was beautiful. JT O'Sullivan has an awesome breakdown, and I'll share it with you guys. It was elite.
I'm not disagreeing with you. I just think you need to buy a Tua wig and just wear it on the show. It wouldn't look as good as mine, but also knowing Waddle, I would think that he would run weirder, or at least walk funny.
He's a monarch penguin. He's the good kind of penguin. He slides on his belly.
Right.
I'm talking about.
It was a great win, though. I will agree with you. It was a great win.
You got to let these teams beat you by little yards. When they start eating up the big play, it's just too much now. It's over. Like when they get started, and it was like you would think, okay, well, look, after that big play, you're going to roll a safety over. Nope. Again and again.
But you can do that. You can do that. And if you blitz, you're taking a man off the field. And what are you going to do? You have to respect Tyreek. You have to respect Waddle.
You do. You almost got to put him in a bracket with like linebacker. There's a different way to kind of guard him than they were doing it. They were getting schooled, and then
he was moving out.
Yeah,
I mean, look at that on the money. It was. I mean, I don't know about next week. I don't know about the last 3 years. This game made me a believer. 2-0.
You convinced me. I'll take him off my bench next week for fantasy.
He only had to score 62 points for you. 62 points. All right. Enough of this Dolphins talk.
I was going to say, you give a quarterback a clean pocket. You see what he can do. They made the most. to criticize the secondary, Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle possess a certain kind of speed that not many people on the planet playing in the NFL have. So that's tough for them to do. No quarterback pressures. He basically picked them apart. He did what he had to do. He showed that what he can do without the duress. You think Joe Burrow playing in Cleveland would have loved to have a clean pocket all day. We're going to talk about Daniel Jones in a second. He would have loved to have any kind of time to throw the football.
Any kind. Poor guy.
And again, I don't want to get too ahead of ourselves, but they go into New England. It's going to be a Sunday nighter in prime time, the Miami Dolphins. And Bill Belichick always wants to take away your best weapon. So will Bill Belichick devise a plan to take away Tyreek Hill? And I think even if you try and stop Tyreek Hill, the weapons around Tua are still going to get their touches. You have to get to him, and you have to get him off his spot and make him uncomfortable.
And it's clicking. He's dropping the dime. All he has to do, and if you notice, he's extending the play, but he's not putting himself in danger, at least in this game, right? Small sample size, but he's just rolling a bit to the right, rolling a bit to the left, making a little bit of space, just a little bit of cushion, enough so he can roll on the run and not even get knocked. I mean, if he plays that game that he played where he just gets enough space to let it go with that quick release, the sky's the limit, barring injury. I mean, River Craycraft is in on it. Braxton Berrios was an amazing addition, more so than I thought. I mean, I've drank a lot of teal Kool-Aid in the last couple hours. So.
We'll just say after week one, the MVP trophy is in Tua's hands. It's his to lose after week one.
1,000%. And come get it. And come get it. Thank you for saying that.
I will agree. And we will get to that Miami Dolphins, New England once we get to my lock of the week. Or upset. No, I don't know. We'll figure it out.
Wait, hold on. Here.
That's a pretty big lock. They're my shoe.
Really quick, guys. Wanted to do this before we move on. It's really important for me to show this. This is Tua's receipts. Tua's coming for that ass because that motherfucker is him. Okay, he's coming for Skip Bayless's ass, Chris Sims' ass. Talk so much shit. Take a picture of this. This is actually something that people put together, and all the shit that people be talking. And he's coming for that ass. Sean Payton, Mike Tenenbaum, J.C. Jackson, Barstool Big Cat, Brian Flores, sabotage Tua, try to trade him. Mike Florio, Keyshawn Johnson, fuck you. So we got receipts. We never forget. And
tell me how that ass tastes.
Hey, one game turned me all around.
You're a left-handed Hawaiian, right?
I was talking shit about him Sunday morning. As soon as we were stalled a little bit, we punted. I was like, "Fuck this Samoans, 6 foot tall, left-handed guy. I've never seen anybody win."
I want Justin Herbert.
I take it back.
My thing is, I want to see what they pay him. You know?
Yeah, wait, but Justin, it doesn't mean he's bad. It means Justin Herbert didn't land in the right place. Justin Herbert just didn't
stay healthy all year. Stay healthy all year, Tua. All right, what we got next?
All right, let's move it along. We skipped some shittier games, but we are going to move right into.
Talk about the Commanders and Cardinals.
No, thank you. No, thank you.
No,
but I think it's the game that we never thought was going to be this way because we were so anticipating our first Sunday night. And here we go. Bum, 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 bum.
What do you mean we didn't think it would be this way? How else did we think it was going to go?
Everybody's going back for Sunday night. Woo! Right?
I didn't think it'd be this lopsided, but Dan Rob,
no.
How do you feel, buddy?
This is an interesting one for me because obviously the Cowboys win 40-0, looks great. The weather at MetLife wasn't ideal. So that Eastern Seaboard, there was rain and everything. So that played a bit of a factor. But I don't think I've ever walked away from a 40-0 victory thinking, you know what? The offense didn't look great, in my opinion. But at the same time, they didn't have to be great. So the most interesting thing to me was all the talk was Mike McCarthy's taking over the plays. They're going to make Dak Prescott a more efficient passer. He's going to limit the turnovers, limit the mistakes. You know, he's going to take his checkdowns, make some better reads. But he only went 13 for 24. So he wasn't even really – he was a 50% passer. So he didn't improve as a passer. But he didn't have to. And to piggyback off of your Miami Dolphins, I think it's very apropos that former Miami Dolphin Noah Igbinoghene, however you say that, scored the first touchdown for the Dallas Cowboys. So you see a block punt, you return a block punt for a touchdown, then you kick a field goal, fine, and then you get a pick six.
Fine. And
the game is 16-0. And in great Cowboys fashion, they missed the convert on their first touchdown.
Yeah.
So, of course, that happens. But anyway, so you're up 16-0 after the first quarter. You realize your defense is getting pressure on Daniel Jones immediately. As soon as the Giants had to pass, they couldn't. 7 sacks total, 3 turnovers. The defense dominated. They got the shot they needed, and the offense just did what they had to do to get out of there without making any critical mistakes. So, yes, the game finishes 40-0. If you watch the game, it was a total domination by the Cowboys. Chris Collinsworth and it's not Al Michaels, Mike Tirico, I think, were basically looking for things to talk about midway through the second quarter. They knew this one was kind of over.
Yeah,
it was a rough one to watch. As a Cowboys fan, you enjoy every minute of it. But like I said, 40-0, but you really didn't feel, and I've heard a lot of chatter from non-Cowboys fans about how this offense wasn't good. How do you think this team is going to be good? They played a bad Giants team. Whatever the case may be, they win the game. And I just have to believe that the offense, when needed to be, will be better than what we saw. I think conditions played a factor. The score and the momentum of the game played a factor. And they walk away with a 40-0 victory. I think that was the best ever opening day shutout over the Giants in Cowboys history. And the one stat that troubles me the most, I believe the Dallas Cowboys are now 12-1 all-time or 11-1, something in one all-time against the Giants week 1 of the NFL season. I was there for the one loss the Cowboys had opening week against the Giants. That was in 2016.
Poor man's traumatized.
AT&T Stadium. Dak Prescott's first ever game, Ezekiel Elliott's first ever game for a Cowboy, not with the team anymore. And we lost the Giants. I think it was a 2-point loss, whatever. But I was there for that one. So I'll always have that for right now. So I hope the Cowboys continue to beat the Giants in week 1 whenever they play them. So I'll always have that.
Just don't go to another week 1 game.
Yeah, please stay away from that. Brandon, you saw the game.
Yeah, well,
in your man cave.
Yeah, what it told me was look, I didn't learn anything new. The Cowboys always beat the Giants. They have the last 10 times, damn near. So they've kind of owned that team. Defense looked great, phenomenal. They had one last year. I think they're even better this year. Offense, I didn't see anything that showed me like, hey, Mike McCarthy's gonna do something different, kind of a thing, because they didn't need to, right? So I want to see what happens. And sometimes, you get these games and you see this in football. It's like the momentum just takes over, and there's just nothing the other team can do. Man, it's just waiting to get avalanched, right? And it's like, and it sometimes happens in playoff games or something, but it's like a 41-3 or 6, like it just there's nothing. Well, you kind of knew it after that. I was like, oh man, everything's gonna go bad for this team. Popped up fumbles, couldn't get things, and so it's like. It's one of those scary kind of games too, because what can happen too with a little bit of sometimes is that there's a little fallback a little bit, right? Thank God they're playing the Jets with Zach Wilson next week, so I don't think it is, but I want to
stick around.
When the defense gives up 17 points, right? They're still playing good, but they need the offense kind of come in there, and I want to see what this offense looks like.
Well, when special teams comes in and blocks your punt or your kick, and then takes it to the house, that's demoralizing. And then for Danny Dimes to get off the bench and be like, well, I got to start with a 7-0 deficit, it just steamrolls into something. I mean, you're in a hostile environment.
Like pops it up and they're like running and it kind of just like it's just, hey man, you could just smell that loss coming. It was just gonna be a matter by how much,
Right.
It's so, and they've always kind of beat them too. So it's not like they like some team they finally kind of knocked away. It was like, okay, this team you've always beaten down, and now you just beat them down again. So I want to see what this team kind of looks like when they play the other double-on teams. But they're going to be in the playoffs. They're going to win. And it's just like when they play that Niners team, and can they win those 16-12 games? Can they win those 21-20 games and get enough out of the offense so the defense doesn't always have to feel like they got to pitch shutouts?
I think I kind of got a bit robbed of the Stephon Gilmore and Diggs on the other side. Are they the best cornerback tandem in the NFL? Because they didn't really push the ball down the field too often. On offense, obviously, there was a couple drop passes by Jake Ferguson, the tight end, who's replacing Dalton Schultz, who's moved on. Peyton Hendershot as well, I think, dropped 1 or 2. So it wasn't a perfect game, but Brandon Cooks had a couple catches early on that were impactful. I think the most troubling thing as a Cowboys fan, Cooper Rush came in and mop up duty, went 0 for 1. And, it was not rush hour.
Darn it. We love us some Cooper Rush.
What did Dak throw for about 140,
Yeah, they didn't have to do anything.
When Tony Pollard was doing that.
So,
and the main thing is he didn't throw an interception. So I think in a 40-0 victory, the one thing you want to walk away is Dak can throw a pick. And we'll see what happens at home against the Jets, which is a much different game today than it was after that game on Sunday night.
How do you feel, Dan, as a Cowboys fan, do you feel different today about Tony Pollard, or were you always confident that Tony Pollard would take the reins and just be seamless? Do you think it's a better offense now without Zeke? I know it's crazy to say, but I think I like the running style a little bit better.
Well, again, I've been a little critical of Tony Pollard specifically as a running back because I don't think he's a slight guy. Now, I think Tony Pollard's a great runner and he's explosive. So I think Tony Pollard is a wonderful running back and a running back that the Cowboys need. And I like what he does, but I just wonder when they need to sort of grind out the ball, get those tough yards. That's what Zeke came in for, and he wasn't great last year doing it, but he's always been good at it. Yeah, like is it Rico Dwaddle? Is he going to be that power back? Can Tony Pollard get it done? Because in situations where he needs to get 2 or 3 yards, he seems to get them.
Yeah.
I was also curious how they use Kevontae Turpin, their return specialist. They seem to get him involved a lot in this game, a lot of the swing passes, a couple carries. He's a slight guy as well. And then obviously the heartwarming draft pick of Deuce Vaughn.
Oh.
He's also a slight guy. So I don't think we have I don't think any team in the league has a smaller backfield than the Dallas Cowboys. But I think what Tony Pollard provides you is explosiveness. And he did look better in his pass protection. The one thing I've always been critical of Pollard, especially in years past, is he was not great in pass protection, where Ezekiel Elliott excels in pass protection.
Right.
As much as sometimes his running failed him, he protected Dak, and Dak had this belief in Zeke, knowing that Zeke had his back.
No INTs.
But I think Tony Pollard will be good. I think in today's NFL, second down, third down, even first down, trying to pick up short yardage is a passing game sometimes. I like CeeDee Lamb. I like what Brandon Cooks offers. I like Tony Pollard in the receiving game as well. Mm-hmm. So, again, nothing but positives. And we will see how the war of attrition throughout the season on these backs. But the one thing I've always wondered with Dak, you don't want to see your quarterbacks run too much, but I do think Dak can use his legs. And in certain situations, I think Dak can be a good runner. I don't think we really saw what Mike McCarthy as a play caller has, because obviously in a game that got out of hand early, he just basically was conservative.
I saw Dak run. I saw Dak run a little bit, and I saw once he ran one time. I'm sorry, Brandon, but he got up and his ankle was pointed the other way. So he should probably just stay in the pocket a bit.
That's a.
Well, I didn't say run and get tackled. I said run.
Just run.
And then
run and pick up the first down. Yeah, I like that. Like don't just don't always look to. Sometimes like, hey, just pick up the first down, go out of bounds, kind of thing. Don't be afraid to do that at least. The one thing with Pollard kind of reminds me of a little bit is just like, can he last 17 games? When you take those hits in November and December, right. Kind of reminds me, like, we used to have a guy a long time ago, Vikings had the guy Robert Smith, man, and every start of the season, man, this guy would run up and down, and then all of a sudden by like November, it's like, the injuries started coming in if it wasn't a season ending. And so it's like, the one thing Zeke did was he took a lot of those early blows in September. I think he never really missed a game, actually. He's one of the most healthier players. And so I want to see Pollard at that frame taking hits after hits, especially when the weather gets a little colder and they have to take on those, go to Philly, go to
game gets slower.
Washington, and the game gets a little, and they need you to carry it 35 times. One of those old sloppy games where it's like, hey, we're going to abuse the back. Yep. Zeke could handle that, and then it switched up with Tony. Now it just seems like you get Tony and they switch it up with another smaller, skinnier guy, and it's just like, that's kind of, so it's not a huge thing because the passing game is so big now. It's not like it was in the 90s, but
you need it.
The Tony Pollard thing kind of scares me because I do look like a guy that does 17 games.
He is a small back, but I tell you what, here's what impressed me last year, and I didn't see a lot of this game, and it looks like the majority of it was defenses and punt blocks and interceptions. But aside from that, Pollard, even though he's a smaller guy, he is still a north-south runner. He will still go straight through you and find his lanes instead of how long. To me, well, I guess that's the question, especially based on what you guys are saying, his frame. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But that's always impressed me about him versus Zeke, who always kind of tried to juke and whatever. To me, he's a pretty solid runner. We'll see how long he lasts, like you guys said, based on his size. But I've always been impressed with him, and I'm not seeing anything that can make me think he can't carry that Dallas team.
Yeah,
there's always a thunder lightning combos, and then when they lose the thunder and they just want the lightning, they go, oh, we need the thunder now. We need that guy again, right? And so
I get it.
If they got rid of Ezekiel Elliott and then gave Tony Pollard a bigger role, but then
had some type of back similar to that, behind him, then I'd be like, hey, you know what? But when they got rid of, they had Morgan, like Alvin Kamara was like that with like Marvin Ingram. Then they got rid of Ingram. It was like, hey, we're just going to rely on you, Kamara. And then all of a sudden the injuries started piling up, and he didn't have anything left towards the end of the season. It was like, I like that bigger back taking the blow, so Pollard can go for a 30-yard run.
When you're the same guy from first down and you are on third down, it's like, we know you.
I think
we will also talk about Kamara more in week 4. Anyway, go.
Is that because they play some kind of a catch?
He's suspended. Anyway, go.
Well, the Cowboys, speaking of suspension, they have Ronald Jones, who I think used to be with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He's on suspension as well. They also have a fullback. They list him as running back, Hunter Lupke. So maybe he can carry the ball in short yardage. But the one thing with the Cowboys when it comes to their running game, or even their offense in general, their offensive line, their starting 5 is elite. They're one of the best starting 5 probably in the NFL, and that'll take them a long way. The problem is their depth behind these 5 is very, very thin. So we've seen it in the past. Tyler Smith didn't play this week. He was dealing with an injury. Tyron Smith, who's been injured often, did go this week, and he was fine. But if any of these guys in the starting 5 go down, that will impact the running game, the passing game, and you'll definitely feel a difference. It doesn't get talked about a lot, but keeping that starting 5 healthy on the offensive line will help this team go a long way. And it will help that running game because Tony Pollard, a lot of these times, he's getting to the second level untouched because of the great blocking he has up front. Yeah. You watch on that right side, Zach Martin, perennial Pro Bowler, perennial All-Pro, and, of course, even the right tackle Terrence Steele, who missed a lot of last season. Those two are very called upon heavily, especially in short yardage situations. And when they get off their double team blocks and they move up to the second level, they're getting their running backs in, profitable situations. So, we don't like to talk about the offensive linemen because they're not sexy people to talk about, but they get paid a lot of money. And if they can stay healthy, we saw a couple linemen go down already in week 1, but that'll help the Cowboys in this offense go a long way.
Is CeeDee Lamb a number 1, right? Is he the guy? Can he really, I think he's a great receiver, but top 10, is he kind of one of those guys that's like that dog? They're like, hey, man, when it hits the fan, he's going to just close eyes, going to get it over to him.
Because Justin Jefferson did that immediately. Like you knew what you had with Justin Jefferson right away, and CD hasn't done that.
On Diggs, AJ Brown, there's, and I always with CeeDee Lamb, I feel like him and Dak never felt like it was like, hey man, this the best wide receiver comeback combo. Like you never got that
like Romo and Dez, like that.
Yeah, right. Or even. Right. I always thought Amari Cooper and Dak had that. I thought man, he could just throw it and Cooper would just come to the sideline and snag it, man. And I saw him felt that with CeeDee.
I think Dak loved Cedric Wilson. I thought that was.
I hope too. Yeah, losing him too was
Well, I think what he loved with Cedric Wilson is Cedric Wilson was a guy that could run down the field and make contested catches. I think that's what Michael Gallup is to this Cowboys offense. We didn't see it a lot yesterday. I think the reason that maybe you guys don't think of highly of CeeDee Lamb is because he's not the one like the Tyreek Hill using his speed to get by the defense. He's not Amari Cooper. He's not Dez Bryant making contested catches down the field. But, I mean, CeeDee Lamb last year had 107 catches, almost 1,400 yards, and 9 touchdowns. So I'm pretty sure he's an elite number 1 for the Cowboys offense.
He's that guy.
He's the one. He's going to rely on yak yardage. He's almost – I wouldn't say he's Deebo Samuel, but he's kind of like a 49er receiver where you just get him the ball in space and let him work. And he was 4 for 4, 4 catches on his 4 targets. He didn't have to do a lot of work, but he moved the chains. And I really think with the addition of Brandon Cooks, if Michael Gallup can be healthy and be that downfield threat, I think CeeDee Lamb's going to get a lot of one-on-one matchups. He's a great route runner, and Dak will trust him in key situations when he needs to. And we will see CeeDee Lamb might not always get the touchdowns, but on key third and longs, key third and shorts when they need a first down. I don't know how we track this out. I'm sure they do, but I'm sure CeeDee Lamb will have more first downs than a lot of wide receivers in the NFL this year.
There you go.
May Jerry Jones live 1,000 more years.
He will forever. He's AI now.
He's gonna dump.
All right.
He's gonna Walt Disney his head in a jar, and we will never be rid of that man. I'm gonna live forever. So, finally, to wrap up the show,
do we have a Monday night game? No, we're not wrapping up the show with a Monday night game.
Oh, we're wrapping.
We still got picks.
Oh, we got picks too.
Well, I got a lock of the week and a underdog of the week. So
okay, we'll take a look.
You guys don't have to do it, but just a real quick look. But yeah, let's jump to Monday night. And I think because I got a bunch to say about that too. Not a bunch.
This was the shit right here, right? You guys remember that game? How are you feeling? How are you feeling for Monday night? That came out very different than anything that I would have thought would have happened.
Well, here's the deal. Like after Thursday night, everybody said, "Oh, Patrick Mahomes has the most interceptions in the NFL," because nobody else had played. But this guy here, can I just point out that he has a win and he has 0 passing yards. And what can you say? Here's the other thing I can say is Zach Wilson came into that game and he won the game. What can you say? I mean, he was the quarterback. He didn't win the game. He was the quarterback on the winning team. Here's what I can say about Zach
Wilson. A guy waiting for a bus. That gets a train wreck.
The guy loses his job to Aaron Rodgers as he comes in. He gets moved to second string. He takes it in stride, as I saw on the HBO show for, a show and a half until I got bored with it. I did not finish that show, by the way. But let me tell you what, going forward, he's either going to be proven as the Jets' new quarterback or not, because he absolutely has the best quarterback coach in the league starting this afternoon.
He does. Well,
doesn't he?
They brought in the coach specifically. They brought in Nathaniel Hackett to coach Aaron Rodgers.
I think he's talking about Aaron Rodgers.
I am talking about Aaron Rodgers.
I know that, but really, it's a waste of
that guy's not going to be on the sideline.
No, because if you think about it, the previous mentee to Aaron Rodgers went 15 for 27, 3 touchdowns in a 38-20 Green Bay Packers. He transferred ownership to Jordan Love of the Chicago Bears. So if that was him not mentoring a quarterback, I can only imagine what mentoring a quarterback would be.
Well, you saw it. I mean, those little flicks of the wrist, those little movements, like, telling the running back to make sure to chip that defensive end, like just those little things to look out for. Make sure you square your shoulders in this way. That's only comes with 18 years of high-level MVP championship play. I mean, the guy is who he is. He may have been on ayahuasca last night.
Which one, Zach Wilson?
Yeah, both of them. They're probably partying together.
Can you think if week 1 was, this crazy week, it can all be encompassed in what we saw last night, because you have just this sheer exuberance of Jet fans excited for Aaron. He runs out on 9/11. I understand the significance.
It was amazing.
With the flag.
It was amazing.
The hype is unbelievable. And in 4 plays,
his season's
like
done.
you understand he's hurt, and then you wonder, okay, is he out for a couple series? Okay, he's out for the half. Okay, he's out for the game, and then you realize he's probably going to miss the entire season. Like, no one could have imagined the amount of hype around one player coming for a franchise. But then you still play this football game. The Buffalo Bills are winning big, or they're winning. They're clearly the better team.
Right.
They somehow find a way
to lose it,
to commit egregious turnovers. Josh Allen is being grilled last night, and unjustly compared to Dak Prescott for whatever reason, because everyone has to pile on the Cowboys. But then you get a punt return touchdown to walk off
in overtime
at MetLife Stadium. So I don't know what it's like to be a Jets fan, but that has to be the craziest roller coaster of emotions for any fan base in week 1.
I would have vomited. That was horrible.
I cannot imagine walking out of MetLife wondering if you still won that game, if that really happened, and just how deflated you might feel, because all you've been hearing for the offseason was, well, Aaron Rodgers is coming in, he's taking over for Zach Wilson, and now
he's all you need.
And you build a team around him. You bring in Nathaniel Hackett, you bring in Randall Cobb, you bring in Alan Lazard, and you walk away knowing that all of this was just to have Zach Wilson start.
And you have Garrett Wilson, you have Brees coming back, and you have an incredible offensive line and an incredible defense. I mean, Sauce Gardner.
Don't say incredible offensive line. That's wrong.
No, you can't say that.
Right, correct.
The weapons were there. You got to see it, and it was. I think it was a sad day. Like,
oh my God, it was 9/11 times 2.
But it was like, are you kidding me? We got to watch 16 more games of Zach Wilson. It was like, this thing's hard to watch. And they already pumped them up full of a bunch of night games that they're going to try to flex out of. So
absolutely.
It's like, man, this is terrible.
So what does that mean for the Jets for the rest of the season? Just because Aaron Rodgers is out, are they done now? You just got done. We just got talking about. Hold on, we just got talking about everybody that got added around him. I mean, those are all still great players. You're right. The offensive line is still not good, but the defense is decent.
He's probably the worst, one of the worst quarterbacks in the league.
I misspoke. The offensive line is mid.
He is terrible. He doesn't see the field. He is like, if they're going to get some defensive wins, the old like pop up, just 3 fumbles and interception kind of wins. So they won't be bad enough to get themselves like, and anyway, they don't have any draft picks anyways because they traded them. But it's one of those things where it's like, man, this is done. Unless there's not even a guy on the couch, you're going to be bringing like Carson Wentz or like a James
Colt McCoy, Carson Wentz.
No,
Joe
but
Flacco.
the most perfect thing in all of this is, of course, the one name everybody considers is Tom Brady, and he is less than 24 hours removed from being honored in Foxborough, declaring to the fans, "I am a Patriot for life."
And he'll never be the Jets. Even when he went to Tampa, he'll be the Jets. Like they'll never. No. And then you're like, wait, I got to go behind that offensive line? No, I'm okay, man. My ass is largely.
And how about me? I have to watch Tom Brady whip my ass for 17 years, and then I got to watch him whip my ass with the Jets. No, that would be. No,
they're gonna use Zach Wilson, and then Robert Saleh is gonna be fired at the end of the year.
Yep,
you can already write this.
Oh yeah, write the check.
ESPN and CBS Sports still have, even after that game and after Aaron Rodgers tearing his Achilles tendon, they still have the Jets ranked 11th and 12th, respectively, as far as power rankings go. So,
well, they won the game and they have an elite defense. They're going to be in games. They're going to be compared to probably the 2000 Baltimore Ravens. Can Zach Wilson do enough to just not lose football games? Is there going to be a Ray Lewis in that locker room? Is it going to be a Sauce Gardner? Is it going to be somebody on the D-line that's going to come in and be like, we will give up 10 or less, just go out there and get us 11 points. Just go out there and get us 21 points.
Right.
Don't screw it up. And it's
2008. They might be like the 2022 Jets. We've seen this team, it was different if it was a different quarterback and they, something like that. But it's like they've already seen this guy for 3 years. And when he came in, he looked like the same old guy running back,
like doe-eyed, like I've never seen him.
The light, you can see the white in his eyes. And he hasn't never progressed. He's never made that year jump that we see from quarterbacks. When you don't do that, this is what you'll always be.
He's basically Josh Rosen.
Yeah,
right.
And the only difference is he was the number 2 overall pick, and so they're just kind of like trying to salvage this in any way, but
and still try to sell tickets and hype for a shit product that just was one Achilles away. And when you fall like that, there's only 2 things that can happen: high ankle sprain or Achilles. So I was pretty much.
If they had a veteran in there, if they had a guy like a Joe Flacco or I would feel better with some guy that's like
Carson Wentz.
Great, yeah, but just. Maybe
Carson Wentz is broken.
Yeah,
I wanted to see where the line was.
But at least I've seen him do well. I've never seen a good Zach Wilson game. I don't know what that looks like.
Zach Wilson has the best quarterback coach ever starting now. I just said it.
Aaron Rodgers is going to go home. He's not going to go to the game.
Like
he's already taught him enough.
It's a terrible surgery, and then he's going to be rehabbing.
Yeah, you're right.
He'll throw you Twitter.
Yeah, He's turning 40 in December. This is going to be a 40-year-old Aaron Rodgers. There's really a couple of questions here. Is Zach Wilson the guy? Are they going to go out and get somebody else? What is the Jets' future somebody in 2023? Yes. But it's also Aaron Rodgers, before this happened, the talk was, not only is he excited to play this year, but he's going to play at least one more, maybe 2 more. He's going to play until he's 45.
In Minnesota.
This is a grueling rehab. Is he going to be able to come back from this? Is he going to want to come back from this? You hear all the talk right now. It's grueling rehab, but it's also Aaron Rodgers doesn't want to go out like this. He doesn't want to go out like this.
$30 million to extend it to a 2 year, so it'd be tough to kind of walk away from that. Like, you need to get all the money he can now.
And he took the pay cut, thinking that he can restructure.
My thing was I took away from it more because I think the Jets are the Jets. They'll be about 6-7 wins with bad Zach Wilson. How bad and regressed the same old Josh Allen looked.
Yes,
that's where I was going next. 3 picks, almost 4, 3 to Whitehead, the same guy.
2 fumbles, 1 loss.
At least understand that guy may be off limits after 2 consecutive interceptions to the man.
And he's forcing the ball downfield. He's not recognizing the coverage because, especially on the second one, Diggs is running a post pattern from his left going to the middle of the field. He has his man beat. But the whole point of this coverage is that safety on the other side of the field with no pressure on him, not being looked off at all, is just playing the middle of the field, reads it, drops back, and just picks it off. and he's still running the ball way too much. Buffalo doesn't know how to run the football. My biggest complaint with Buffalo has always been you can't have Josh Allen run the football. He can't be your leading rusher in every football game.
Exactly.
And he runs recklessly. There was
He's
one
emotional. He's emotional. So if things go wrong, let me just add that in there with you, Dan. He's emotional. So if things don't go exactly right, he's going to start making bad decisions, going to start huffing and puffing. I've seen it.
Mm-hmm. And, all this talk in the offseason where him and Stephon Diggs feuding, was Stephon Diggs upset? Well, Stephon Diggs got 13 targets, 10 catches, had 102 yards, had a touchdown. So, he forced the ball to Diggs, but Diggs was open a lot of the time. He made the throws. What's crazy with the Buffalo Bills, he throws all these bad passes, then they get down. They need to have a drive to tie the game. They do it. They get the ball in overtime. They go 3-and-out. It's not a very good punt. He outkicked the coverage. It wasn't high hang time, whatever you want to say. Good return. Was there a leg sweep? Whatever.
Possibly.
This I find fascinating with these tripping calls. Like the man's falling down, his legs are flailing.
Right.
He happens to hit a guy. Did he do it intentionally? Maybe they're smarter than. To me, I just looks like he's falling down. It's like
there's too much going on at that speed.
But
at that speed, you can't
The refs are
choreograph
pulling a flag. Then they're like, "Hey, look, let the Jets win one. They need, they're already getting there. They're gonna hang each other in the shower rod in the morning after the
Imagine throwing a flag on that. The guy celebrating the end zone. Robert Sala's the first man in on that.
I gotta make it out of this. I gotta make it out of the stadium by the end of tonight if I don't.
Exactly.
If I had to assign a worst performance of the weekend, it goes to MetLife Stadium. You lose 40-0 to the Cowboys on Sunday night, and then your turf is being blamed for taking out Aaron Rodgers. So MetLife Stadium had the worst weekend of anybody in the NFL Week 1.
Oof.
Robert's
man.
True.
He like you literally, I think I missed that day bowl where it was like, sometimes it's you are playing Zach Wilson. You only, unless you just give it up, you could probably win with just scoring that 13, right? Just running the ball out. And it's like, it's this sense to always feel like he has to push the ball down the field. There's never a check down. There's never a drop off to the guy that's running. Every pass play has to seem so hard and overly, almost like the old Mike Martz offense, where it's like, hey guys,
labored.
You wish you had some Kyle Shanahan. Where it's like, we're just gonna dump it to this guy and James Cook. They have guys that can do it, but it's like he doesn't see them. It's like he doesn't see you until after you've gone 8 yards down the field, and it's like, man. And that's Dorsey as well too. If your guys stop calling deep pass routes,
right?
Start crunching it up and running the ball, get it out of his hands so he can't make mistakes. That's the one thing I noticed with Cowboys was like, hey, look we're just gonna run it. We already got the win. Bills already had the win. Zach Wilson wasn't crossing the 50. Just don't pass. Just don't do any turnovers.
Pass yourself out of it. Yeah, and that's
but if you're gonna double fumble it right there and allow him to just go 20 yards, then screw it. You might as well hand him the win.
Let's just say that the turnover differential was on motherfucking fire the other night. So
and Zach Wilson threw a terrible interception this game. Like he didn't look good when he came in. He threw a touchdown pass that was all on Garrett Williams. Sorry, names escaped me.
That's right.
Garrett Wilson. Garrett Wilson had the great, reaches out, taps it to himself, catches it.
Mm-hmm.
But in the second quarter, when the Bills went up, they were up 10-3, and then they only managed a field goal out of it. Zach Wilson stares down the middle of the field, and I don't know where he was throwing the football. Like, there are certain interceptions that, he's trying something, they're forcing something. Even Josh Allen, the first one he tried a deep pass, got picked off. It looks like a punt, okay.
Right.
Zach Wilson stares down the middle of the field and just throws it right to Matt Milano. Like that in no way is defendable. No idea where he's looking. And if this is what you're going to get from Zach Wilson, it's going to be hard to trust him going forward. And the biggest thing that scares me as a Cowboys fan is, Aaron Rodgers is going to come to town. We were a 3-point favorite at home. Could we do to the Jets what we did to the Giants a week ago? Now, this is a non-winnable game for the Cowboys from the standpoint of you have to win this game, and no matter how you play, unless you destroy the Jets, the Cowboys are going to be criticized for how they played this week coming up. I know it. I feel
that's always, that. You signed up for it.
I don't think there's nothing Zach Wilson's going to do against his defense. So it's like you're going to, it's going to be 6 points under. But if you win like a 13-6 game and the offense looks kind of mediocre again, then they're going to dump on him. Even though the Jets defense is going to be really good, it's almost like, but they're going to want to see something from that, especially when you fire your offensive coordinator. If it's just a typical year, and they're like, hey, they're figuring things out, trust the guys. But anytime you put spotlight on the play caller now, they're going to want to see what's the difference here. Why did you fire him and what am I getting for it, right? And we haven't seen that yet. And they haven't had a chance to. And they won't for another 2 to 3 weeks because this ain't going to do it.
Well, he did. Zach did throw a touchdown. He threw a 3-yard pass over single coverage to Garrett Wilson, who literally, that was one of the prettiest catches I'd seen all that whole day until Tyreek caught. I was trying to compare it to Tyreek, but everybody was just, I mean, up in our. I thought he dropped it for sure. We all screamed at Brandon's house. Let's see. So, what is Robert Saleh going to say? I thought Zach was awesome. Saleh summed up. He had a couple of big third down clutch throws to extend drives and score points. His command of the huddle, the line of scrimmage. I thought he was gritty. He created off schedule plays. He scrambled for big gains. He threw an interception and still bounced back. I think he's blowing smoke up his ass because that's the only thing he's got.
Remember that
he was in love with Aaron Rodgers.
Remember when he's interviewing for defensive coordinator positions next year, and this guy, right?
Got to be diplomatic,
because Woody Johnson gonna fire him. They've had, they only give you 3 years, and you literally never sniffed a playoff game. So if this thing goes in the dumpster fire, you can't bring this guy back again to be last place again.
Yeah,
you bought Zach Wilson. You got to own that.
A lot of things went down with the Achilles.
Yeah.
Yep, one Achilles brought the whole kingdom down. So I'm happy to see it. I'm not happy for Aaron because I am an undercover Aaron Rodgers fan, but I'm not a Jets fan. So
I'm a football fan. I don't want to see 16 games of this garbage.
I want to win my division. I want to win my division with an emotional Josh Allen.
I want to be on a Monday night. Jets versus this. I don't want to be like, it's Zach Wilson.
I am super not a Jets fan, which I pointed out multiple times. But even I'm not happy with anybody obviously getting hurt.
Not week one.
And I'm also not a fan of Aaron Rodgers, but also this is kind of a really somebody popped the balloon way too early before it got a chance to fly around the room.
I like to watch him lose.
I mean, come on.
I
know.
I like to bring the just ruin throw picks. I don't like to see a guy on the ground.
I want the Jets to cry.
All right.
And I love the NFL, what they've done with the unveiling of this 104 season script. The funny part is, if you remember from that commercial, they're trying to write off the Mahomes character.
Yeah,
they didn't tell us that they were writing off the Rodgers character.
They failed
to unveil that one.
And it's like a Murder Mystery when they got that big actor in there, and then all of a sudden you're like, "What? He's only 10 minutes in the movie. They kill him early, right?"
If I told you in June of this year that the Cowboys-Jets game week 2 would feature the number 2 and number 3 overall pick of the 2021 draft, and one of those quarterbacks would be starting in that game, would you believe that Zach Wilson would be starting against the Dallas Cowboys, who would have Trey Lance as their emergency quarterback?
No, because I just saw Hard Knocks and it didn't go down like that.
Yeah.
Back then, I definitely wouldn't have believed you.
Well, again, it also too, but it shows you is that these guys end up really having a very hard way of analyzing quarterback, especially when they don't play that much. You get a kid at North Dakota State that only has 150 snaps. You get another kid that only had really about half a year in a COVID year, in that BYU year, where they were able to kind of play around with the schedule a little bit. He was kind of lay up some numbers, and then he ends up getting the number 7 round pick. It's like they don't these flash, because what they're telling, they're not really checking out who's really winning. Lose. They just wait to see who's actually has good numbers at the end of the college year, and they go, okay, second pick overall. Like, he literally throughout the year never showed you anything, even the year prior. But he kind of put little, smoke and mirrors to get number 2 overall pick, and then to invest in a kid from FCS that hasn't thrown that many passes. And then you notice the guys that are doing good, like Pickett, Birdie, and stuff. 4 years, many snaps, many carry. So it's going to stop trying to look for something that isn't there, because they don't have enough time. They have to start you right away. They can't teach you for 2 to 3 years. They have to jump on it.
Yeah, that's why the SEC is such a prevalent place to get polished people. Polished players. So
I'd rather take somebody that maybe doesn't have the high ceiling, but has been through the trenches.
Right.
And the guy go, man, if you get this guy going, it's like, yeah, but I'll be fired by the time the guy gets going.
Exactly. You didn't.
Like I won't be able to coach that.
Let's see. All right, cool. So we're gonna bring up. Let's bring up a schedule against the spread. NFL schedule against the spread, and we'll end it that way
for this upcoming week. Guys, before we get done, I got to say, I really love talking to you guys, especially on a live. I know it went like double what we thought, but
how can we do all those games?
We all talk a lot. We're going to have to next week just pick, I don't know, we'll each have to pick 2 games. I don't know. We'll have to figure it out. But we'll have to make it a little bit shorter. But I think
they will start to wind themselves down as which games are relevant, right? Week 1, every team is relevant because everyone has hope and optimism. Big takeaway from week 1, 16 games on the schedule. Only 4 games hit the over for all you bettors out there. So 12 games hit the under.
I'm so glad that was a wonderful
Somebody mentioned
segue.
that to me last night, AC.
What's that?
Didn't you mention about taking the under quite a bit this past weekend?
I did, absolutely. So we got a little bit.
Always feel like they're just faster. They less playbooks to remember. They're running and gunning, and so a lot of times too it feels like that they have a head start. The defenses.
Absolutely, absolutely. I hit a great ticket. I took a 5-teamer and I hit it. I put $12 on it, but it did pay out $270. For I took Las Vegas plus 5.5, and the rest just money lines like Dolphins and gosh, I'd have to open up my app, but that was a great day. And I hit yesterday. I did a prop bet where I just needed gosh, what did I need? It was someone to catch a touchdown. It was Stephon Diggs to catch a touchdown and get over 99 yards receiving. So he did that, and that was great. Yep. So that
sounds like you need to tell people what to do instead of me.
I do not.
I mean, we can all do this, but
we can all do.
I actually have a couple lined up just from this morning when I looked at the lines. I'm like, oh my god, how is this even a thing?
Yeah. Actually, where are you looking? Caesars.com?
Well, I was looking at Caesar. Now I have something printed out. I can't believe a couple of these games actually have the lines like they are. Find me the Raiders versus the Bills just real quick. I just want to see if from this morning we're still the same. I've got the Bills at -9, Raiders versus Bills.
I'm saying -9.5.
So
okay.
Yeah, let me get there.
In Buffalo,
yeah, I got 9.5.
Yeah, in Buffalo.
Yeah,
in Buffalo. All right. Well, that's not my lock, but take the Raiders on that one. The Buffalo is not going to win by
what's the time?
10 points.
They're not going to
win by
East
10
Coast
points.
for a 10 o'clock game.
10 a.m.
1
game.
p.m.
Yeah, they're not going to win by 10
Oh
points.
man,
Should we just start marking this down so we can see who's right,
yeah,
Brandon?
Absolutely.
I'm going to stay away from that thing. That you're right though, but look at West Coast teams traveling to the East Coast, and then if you're lucky, you hit the 4 o'clock time hole, but they hit the 1 o'clock time hole, it's 10 o'clock still for them in the morning.
Yeah.
And then so it's usually they feel like they get off to a very
fast
rough start, man. And then especially a team after Monday night and a loss like that, they get their teeth rattled, man. I don't like that in any way.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I still saw what I saw, and you saw what you saw. In my opinion, take the Raiders. That's not my lock. But take the Raiders and take those 9 or 9.5 points if you can get them.
I think that goes up more throughout the game. You can find about 10.5 by the end of the week. Yeah.
This site is
if you can get the Raiders as the underdog on that one, take it. Here's my upset. Look up the Ravens Bengals.
Oh, that's what I was going to pick as my dog of the week. I had that one too.
Okay, that is my dog of the week also because I'll say, Dan Rod, you look these up too. That's your dog of the week?
Yeah, so I saw, I was just looking at it quickly. The Bengals are at home. They're favored by 3.5.
They are.
Probably my biggest overreaction to what I saw in week 1, but I think the Ravens can go into Cincinnati and put the Bengals down 0-2. I like the Ravens on the road at Cincinnati.
I love that. 3.5 too.
I agree with that. Ravens are going to win by at least a touchdown, and not just because Cincinnati looks so terrible, but they're not going to come back and all of a sudden shine after that loss. Ravens absolutely by a touchdown. Don't put the house on it because you can't afford the house, but put a lot of money on it.
Yeah.
Well, even if you don't, 3.5 is a great
upset
number
of the
too.
week.
Because even if they don't, that 3.5, that hook, I just don't see them beating them by 4, right? So even if the Bengals get that lucky field goal win, that 3.5 it's just a great number to have. I think
Ravens are going to outright win that game.
I still think,
so
I
take
would
3.5 points also.
Line.
So you're saying money line just to win?
It's there.
Okay.
It's a good win.
All right, Dan Rod, before I go, do you have a lock of the week since you glanced at it? Do you have one that really sticks out?
The one that sticks
that
out
one?
the most to me, again, these spreads are always so tricky.
Right.
But if I'm picking one, I'm going to still believe what I saw in Jordan Love and that Green Bay Packers team from week 1. They're going into Atlanta taking on a 1-0 Falcons team. Green Bay's a 1.5 point favorite on the road, so it's basically a pick'em game. I think the Packers go on the road, and I think they beat the Falcons, and they'll cover the 1.5. That would be my lock of the week is Packers on the road. I know those home dogs, they tend to hit, but I would take Packers week 2 on the road. Jordan Love continues to impress. And
Dan Rod, I would agree with you. That's not my lock of the week, but I would agree with you. I did have that written down, but that's a good pick. Anybody else? If you haven't looked at it, that's fine.
I didn't have a chance. These are kind of early.
I got mine.
Go on.
Here on this Vegas Insider, we can see all of the sports books. So if you see here, Bet365 has these, 9.5, FanDuel, MGM, Caesars, DraftKings. So you get to go down the line, William Hill, all the different sports books. You can actually take a snapshot of, what all the lines. Like for example, the Bills go down to -8.5.
Perfect.
A little bit different. But my lock of the week. This up. I want you to lock this up. I want you to, if you don't have a safe, I want you to go buy one. And I want you to put your heart and soul in it. And I want you to lock that safe with all the combination and then just give it to nobody. The Jaguars are going to beat the Kansas City Chiefs.
Oh, wow.
And they're just going to go money line. They're not going to do the +3. I think it's going to go all the way money line. The Jaguars are poised to beat the Chiefs. I think it's time. 0-2 start for the Chiefs.
I'm a Jaguars fan. The Chiefs haven't gone 0-2 since I think Dan Rod probably already knows this. I think 1992, I believe, is the last time they went 0-2. That's not my lock of the week, but I'm hoping for it.
I would say my thing that I like the most, it probably just played there. Dolphins -2 against New England.
Oh, absolutely.
They rarely, because if you get to play New England in September, right? They don't have to go to usually they'll schedule these guys like in the end of December, right? And have Miami dying. So that's a great schedule for them as they get New England in September. And Tua undefeated against Bill Belichick. They don't have the speed on the outside. You saw that they were struggling a lot with just Devontae Smith and AJ Brown. I think Tua kind of comes in there and they're definitely going to win by more than 2. I think it's going to be like a 7-point victory. The Patriots were really blown out, and then Eagles just let them back in and had to kind of close the door a little bit on that. I think you'll see a really good Dolphins game out of him. Get 2-0.
It's like you guys were looking at my paper.
We can see it. It
is. All you guys had exactly. Dan Rod mentioned the first one. AC. I'm not picking my team. Not that I'm not for them. Kansas City had a tough loss. They're going to come playing hard. They're going to play hard.
They really did.
I'd love to see them go down, and I am excited about the Jaguars, but I'm not 100% on that one. Brandon, you mentioned a good one, but my actual lock of the week, the Los Angeles Chargers are giving up 3 points to the Titans. You know what? The Titans have a running back that is the best in the NFL, but the Chargers are going to win by at least a touchdown, probably 10 points. That 3 points is not going to be enough. Lock of the week, the Chargers giving away 3 to the Titans. Take those Chargers. Chargers look good even against the Dolphins. That's me.
Yeah. Evenly
matched. Yeah, Tannehill looked so bad. He could have had 6 picks, and so he looks like a shot fighter right now, unfortunately. Yeah. So
we already know what that. I know what that looks like, and it's not great.
Yeah.
He does have DeAndre
Hopkins. In LA, or is it in Tennessee?
It is in Tennessee. The Titans are hosting the
Los Angeles. I do like that Chargers. Yeah, good because the Chargers always play on the road, even in their own home, so they're used to it.
Yeah, Chargers, a homeless ass poverty franchise.
They're always on the road.
I know they have a Mexico City game this year. I don't.
There's no such.
They might as well.
There's no Los Angeles.
They might as well go to London
there's
twice.
Old San Diego Charger fans,
right?
Yeah,
but an LA Charger fan.
Yeah,
they're
all in Vegas.
Yeah. All right. The Raiders, what's funny is they do a survey every year of who the favorite team in LA is, and it's always the Raiders, even though they haven't played in that damn place since 19.
It's their third city. It's
LAFC.
Yeah, and so it's always an odd thing.
It's like thinking you're going to marry your third mistress. That's You're not.
Well, this is the difference is that this mistress actually got him a house, right? They had to play in 2 back horrible coliseums. So the one thing was like they just begged. They went to any city. They would have played this thing on Mars if they built them a stadium. They said, "Build me a stadium. We'll go over there and play with it." Vegas just said, "Hey, we'll build the stadium." Now they're the Vegas Raiders, but they begged and cried and whined for 30 years to get a stadium, and they were never able to get one until today. You know?
I get it.
As like, you know, the Rams are on their 3rd one. I know.
Yeah, seriously.
So,
We got to get it.
You know, it's funny how different states. Yeah.
All right, guys, I've had a ton of fun.
Yes.
So did Grogu here.
I thought you were going to say I've had a ton of rum.
I've had a ton of both. I've had a ton of rum and a ton of fun. And I got to do a show tomorrow. So, and I want to thank everybody that popped into the Married Couple podcast today thinking they had the day wrong and joined NFL HQ because we did multi-stream this and put it to a couple different platforms. So everybody who popped into, they're probably not still here, but thank you for coming in. And this is NFL HQ. Welcome to the show and come back next week.
Yeah, subscribe. We're going to do this every Tuesday. So if you put the notifications on, you can get the thing at around 6 o'clock Pacific, 9 o'clock, a little later on the East Coast. But us West Coasters have to get our 10 a.m. football on. So I'm excited for this week. Look out for YouTube shorts and things like that. We'll try to be more active. And boys, any last comments?
Just very quickly to Dave asked the question, when was the last time the Chiefs were 0-2? Well, the Chiefs had won their opening day game 8 straight times before losing this year to the Detroit Lions. Yikes. So 2014 is the last time the Chiefs went 0-2. Alex Smith under center in 2014.
Oh, there you go.
Oh, bionic leg.
All right.
Theismann Smith.
They should have never got rid of him for Mahomes.
He should have never got a gangrenous leg.
Messed up there.
All right.
Yeah.
Let's do it. Do not watch Thursday Night Football this week. Stay away.
Yeah. That was the one good Thursday night game we got was last week, and
that's going to be a bad week this week. It's going to be Cousins on the ground, Justin Jefferson screaming at him on the sideline.
Yeah.
Never beat Philly and Philly.
In celebration.
Yeah. You might want to bench him on your fantasy.
Yeah, it's going to be ugly. Quick turnaround, disgusting, and welcome to the NFL Week 2. This is where the meat of it happens, boys. I hope everybody has a great week, and we'll see you next Tuesday.
See you next Tuesday, guys.
That's right. See you guys tomorrow night for How Was Your Day? Married Couple Podcast.
That's true.
Just got to throw that out before.
And one day I'll do a midnight media back again. I might just do one with Brandon just to do it again.
It's coming.
And
all right,
you guys have a good one.
You could do it on football.
Let me take a nap. Keep me up.
All right, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Great
Love
to
you
talk
guys.
to you guys.
Thank
Peace.
you.
out.